go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker, what do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Clark from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, true story. I thought last night was arguably the best win of the season. And I know normally that it doesn't come with a first quarter that looked as discombobulated as that did for the Pacers. But you get down 13. I liked it because every single area seemed to be represented by a level of play that we should come to expect. You follow me? Let's just face it, to help them dig out of that early hole, and that was because of the starters, it was the bench play. And then once you get to the second quarter, that was an absolute takeover. No pun intended. 50 points you put on the board in the second quarter. And listen, you're not going to score 50 points. I guess you could look at the rest of the way, 28, 24, and 25, and go, well, you know, how great is that? Good thing you put up 50. But that was the type of game. That was the style of play. I just thought collectively and individually that lived up to the expectations that I tell you about every day. That lives up to the expectations that I reference when I say no more excuses. I don't care about the youth. I don't care that people think that they're still not worthy of being there. I don't care what people say or Joel Embiid says. I'd rather retire than go there. That doesn't matter. What matters is with that group. What matters is what happens within that organization, and we should have a high level of expectations. I thought that was the way. It'd be great if you could eliminate the really awful starts, because that certainly has been the case here in recent history. But overall, that's what you want to see right there, because you got a little bit of everything. You got a little bit of everything from basically everybody. Did you not? And you got it from the bench. And then ultimately you got it from the starters. You know, Pascal Siakam, didn't have this great game, but he still shot 50%. Still gave you 16. Tyrese Halliburton stands out because I thought Tyrese Halliburton, who started out slow once again, that is what you're looking for with Tyrese Halliburton. You know what you saw last night with Halliburton? You saw a guy, and he mentioned this after the game, because he had deferred so much, and he hears the criticism about it deferring or about being hesitant offensively. He wasn't last night. He went at it, and he did exactly what needs to be done in terms of sharing the basketball, picking up his other teammates, and then putting the onus on himself to score, to be a threat. Like, my point yesterday was simple. I don't want to see him defer to others. I'm okay if it's getting everybody else going. That's a part of what they do. That's a part of this offense. That's a part of establishing the pace that we want to see. But I don't want him deferring because he's not confident in being able to go at the man that's guarding him. Or if it's a double team, or if they're switching somebody that's more athletic and taller on him, or what. None of that. As a player, he has to establish himself, and that starts with a level of confidence with his offensive game. And that had been lacking oftentimes, especially recently. Although last night, he showed us to the level exactly how that has to be. And did you also notice that he gave you a couple of defensive moments too? I thought last night was a great description of Miles Turner. Hadn't played in about 2 weeks, Started out with a struggle. Everybody out there starts chirping about Miles this and Miles that, and guess who hears about it? It's me. And then he steps up and has one of the better games any individual Pacer has had to stuff the box score this season. 17, 10, and 7. And I always say this, defensively, if you don't notice what this team is and what they accomplish with as opposed to without him, you may be one of the dumbest basketball humans on earth. I am just, to me, that's not how I want to visualize you. I respect you much more than to think you don't know your ass from anything. And believe me, if you think just because he doesn't block a shot that he is not a threat defensively, then either right now you need to change your mind, or if the Pacers aren't drastically different with him in there than without him, you either need to change your mind right now or just go ahead and own up to the fact that you know nothing. Because you would know nothing. And I don't care if you've coached it. I don't care if you've played it. I don't care if you're still coaching it. I don't care if you're still playing it. You don't know a damn thing. It is obvious, and it should be obvious. So I get a lot more respect out there than those that truly understand. This is not an angle from me. This is just going again. What do I say all the time? By the evidence that has been proven to us. The evidence we have to go on. I don't want to sit here every day and talk about the Colts and not winning a division and being a letdown and not believing into going into 2025. You don't want to do that, but the evidence has shown that evidence to be the truth about this team right now. And you can see that with the Pacers. You can see that with Miles. You can see that. And a night like last night, to me, it's even more interesting when you start and it's a struggle, and we have seen him before kind of fade away, kind of tail off, let somebody else handle it. But there was no feeling sorry for yourself. I mean, he kept going at it, and he kept going at it on both ends. And that was impressive. So individually with him, Aaron Nesmith knocking down some threes, being a defensive factor was a big deal. Obviously what Aaron Nesmith, check that, what Andrew Nembhard brings to the table is a hell of a big deal. I thought he was outstanding last night. And again, the bench you saw by virtue of that early slow start just stepped up large. That's exactly what you want to see from this group. That's the type of performance. And believe me, that's what it is going to take this year. I know last year you got to deal with teams that were injured, guys that were out, and you get all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. And there were probably some games, even games they won, they like to have back and suggest they could play better. Last night, I think, was the great example. Now, again, you still want to finish the slow starts, but being able to counter the slow start and basically having everybody on the team at one point or the other picking you up, it's exactly what you got last night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The first of 4 consecutive at home. You get the Clippers, you get the Nuggets, you get the Raptors, and you get discussion from me on a busy show. Bob Lovell, bottom of the hour, joins us. Mike Wells of ESPN Radio is going to be here. Chris Kramer, the former Boilermaker guard, a little bit later on. Purdue-IU round 2 in Bloomington on Sunday. Chris will join us, voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, the Gorman from the Colts Radio Network, and The Last Word also going to be here, and Dave Matthews Band tickets coming up as well. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, a little bit more insight. I wanted to get started off with the relative bang regarding the Pacers in that win last night. From Pacers Television, Jeremiah Johnson joins us, and I have described, I don't know if you've heard any of this so far, described that as exactly the level of which I expect. Now, I want them to subtract the slow starts, JJ. No more slow starts, but I thought it was great. The bench bailed them out. in the first quarter at the end, and then in the second quarter, you saw everybody kind of take charge to a level in which I expect, not 50-point quarters, mind you, but a pace of play, scoring ability, and then taking to the woodshed at times a really good team from the West.
So you're not happy. You're just saying that's what they're supposed to do.
I think that's what that's what I expect them to do.
All right. Well, there's nothing wrong with being demanding as a 3 to 6 radio host.
No, do you think that you think that's too demanding?
No, I don't. I mean, I was still very pleased with how they performed, and you never do know right after the All-Star break how things will go. And you do have to take into consideration that Memphis is the second best team in the Western Conference, so it wasn't like you were playing the Hawks or the Wizards, who the Pacers have had some difficulty with despite winning over the last couple of weeks. So I think it's good. I think they have those same expectations for themselves. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I do like the way the schedule started after the All-Star break to play good teams that are playing well. When you have the Grizzlies, the Clippers, and the Denver Nuggets in your next 3 games, you're not going to be able to win despite not playing well. To win those games, you have to play well. And they absolutely played well. And that second quarter, again, you can't say, oh, yeah, have a 50-point quarter. But just the way they played, the crispness that they played offensively, the way they were flying around defensively, that was Pacers basketball. So now they have a little bit of a blueprint. If they fall on hard times at all, just fresh in their mind, that's how you want to play, how you played at times against the Grizzlies.
No, I thought the same thing, and I think it's okay to hold them to such a high standard. And I guess that's also because, JJ, I have such a deeply rooted belief in what they have done, what they have put together, and those making those choices to be accurate. So I think that comes along with the territory with this.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say that there was anything wrong with that. I have high expectations for them as well. And again, internally, there are no one probably in the NBA has the expectations that they do inside that locker room because they know where they've been. They still feel that people are sleeping on them a little bit, and that's never a bad thing. That's not uncommon for teams in this market, and it's okay, right? You want to sleep on the Pacers, they'll continue to play that well. Now, they had something to prove to themselves coming out of the All-Star break based on how they played going into it. They won 5 of 8, but they weren't playing good basketball, and fair to say that the Grizzlies game was good basketball.
It's Jeremiah Johnson, Pacers Television on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. They go, Sunday? Is it Sunday and then Monday and Tuesday? How's that? I got to look and see how that goes again. I know you get the Clippers coming up on Sunday, but I did want to fast forward a little bit, not to look over it, but I wanted to make this particular example. You had a 36-win team last night in the Grizz. You get the Clippers in. We've seen them once, a 31-win team. And then the Nuggets have won 9 straight and 37 wins. I would agree with you. You want to start out after the All-Star break against this level of talent to really test yourself and prove something to you. And I thought last night was that first step in trying to do that.
It was. And it was another fun game to prepare for and to look forward to last night, in that both of the teams were about as healthy as you could imagine, and maybe as healthy as they'll be moving forward. The Grizzlies had none of their players out. John Morant's been in and out of the lineup, but he had no excuses, no issues. He was healthy, and the Pacers had that 11-man rotation where you really have 11 guys that can play, and I would say you've got 6 or 7 guys that can start, and it gives Rick Carlisle a lot of options. But rest was everybody was rested. Everyone was ready. I expected a high-level game, and it was good that the Pacers lived up to that. Now, the Grizzlies were a little frustrated, and that's, I think, to the Pacers' credit. They took them out of their game. They took John Morant's drives away. They defended, for the most part, without fouling, and they saw a weakness. When Zach Edey wasn't on the floor, the Pacers are not known to crash the offensive glass all that much. They want to make sure they're back on defense, but they saw some openings, and I thought in some critical situations – they took advantage, and they got some offensive rebounds. And I think back to the first half, Tyrese Halliburton was searching a little bit. Aaron Nesmith got an offensive rebound after a Halliburton missed 3 and kicked it back out to Tyrese, and he made it. And from that point on, he was good. He was good to go. What happens if you don't get that second chance opportunity and maybe you have another couple possessions that you're still in your head thinking about struggling? So a lot of really good things to pull out of that win against the Grizzlies.
Yeah, it's weird. I would agree with you on the offensive glass. It kind of reminded me of those games this season you and I have talked about where defensively they've hard-targeted the dribble. You know, they see maybe a loose handle out of individuals or teams, and they target that. So they're doing some hardcore pre-scouting for these games, too. And I thought last night, you know, regarding the way that they treated the glass, especially on their own end compared to what we normally see, was yet another thing that they had done in pre-scouting for that.
It is, and you can't just send everybody. You can't recklessly crash, especially with a team like Memphis that is the highest scoring team in the NBA. But the other thing that I'll add to just making everything work, and it kind of fits into that offensive rebounding discussion, is you had Thomas Bryant back to his normal role, the role he has been excelling at, and that is an energy guy off the bench that can come in with the second unit and help make things happen. And you know where I'm going to go next, and it is because Miles Turner was back. And so you saw all of Miles Turner, all of the reasons that you missed him, that his presence was missed before the All-Star break, and how he completes that starting lineup when he was back. He, like Tyrese Halliburton, it's crazy how those two guys could be sort of the stars of the night, and at the end of the first quarter, both were kind of shaking their head, towel over their head, trying to figure things out, and then the switch was flipped in the second quarter, and Miles Turner, his rim protection. Another thing when you're talking about the scouting is they wanted to make sure they didn't go to like have many wings or backcourt players go for the blocks and get into foul trouble. They knew they had Miles Turner back there to help, and he delivered with 7 blocks in the game.
Yeah, JJ joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. For Miles, there's no doubt about that. There's such a huge gap between this team with or without him defensively. I mentioned this. When they beat the Wizards, it was a layup line drill below the rim. I mean, it's one thing to be above the rim and finish athletically above the rim, but everything was below the rim like it was Peru versus Eastern Green back in the day with us right there. And that is, to me, just one great example of life without him. So we saw that last night, but specifically with him, he needed to see, after 4 attempts had failed, 1 go in, and it did, a 3. And I thought that and one situation really got him going. And he looked to the bench, and you had mentioned this over the course of the game broadcast, that he got advice about, 1, 2, 3, let it go, getting back to the basics of how he approaches shooting a jumper. And it looked like that worked, because after 2 weeks off, he finally got things dialed in.
Yeah, I mean, that staff, that roster, they know the guys that you want to shoot three-pointers. And Miles Turner is shooting nearly 40% from 3. And also in a game that Zach Edey, you got to love Zach Edey, but if he's guarding Miles Turner, he's going to be dropping for the most part, at least if he can. And so you have to make him pay. You have to punish him, and you have to knock down those shots. Just because you miss 3 or 4, you're still a 40% three-point shooter. You want to keep shooting them. You know that water will find its level, but you can't hesitate. And so that was the message from Rick Carlisle and Lloyd Pierce, is to, stick to your process, continue to shoot. And he said even some of the words from his teammates and just reminding him, you've got to keep shooting, that really helped him. And that's another reason you mentioned the continuity and bringing this roster back. So many guys on that bench, they know Miles Turner so well. It's not a group where you're still trying to figure guys out. I mean, if any organization knows a player, it's the Pacers and Miles Turner, and there are enough people with that experience to tell him in those situations, don't hang your head. The next shot you get, shoot it. Tyrese Halliburton is going to keep finding him, and then once he made those, then Edey has to come out, or whoever was guarding him has to come out and challenge. And what did he do? As you mentioned, he put it on the floor. So it was a really good sort of tale of 2 quarters we saw between the first quarter and that second quarter.
It's a Jeremiah Johnson, Pacers TV. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Pacers now 3 consecutive at home, with the Clippers, the Nuggets, and the Raptors on the radar coming up this weekend on Sunday. Skivvies on social media's platform X brings up, I think, a really good point here, and you alluded to it last night. He said, hey, this sounds dumb, but it seems the Pacers play good defense when they keep their hands up, more deflections. You mentioned this last night, but you also mentioned that message came from the bench, because I think what else Skivvies could allude to with this particular reference is they're better defensively when they don't foul. And when their hands are up, the fouls don't get whistled as often as they do when they're down. And I think that the message you were relating to the audience last night, but what he says here on X is absolutely true for this team. They do look more successful when they're engaged on that end and their hands are up.
Yeah, I mean, again, each game has a different point of emphasis, but Rick Carlisle, I wasn't even sure this was a stat, but he shared with the media before the game that Memphis is number one in the NBA in the amount of time they spend in the penalty. And a game really changes once a team is able to go to the free throw line with every foul, and the Pacers are really cognizant of that, especially when they have the other team in the penalty and they're going to go to the free throw line. They want to attack and they want to get those opportunities. At the same time, if every foul sends the opponent to the free throw line, they're even more cautious. And so they were trying to, instruct the team to make sure to defend without fouling. And again, how many times do we see a player commit a foul and they want the replay review, and you'll look over to the bench? A lot of times they don't feel that underneath hand that might be on the waist or the midsection. They don't think that's a foul, but a foul's not going to be overturned if you have some of that contact. So if you show your hands, and I'll go back to the one year I was able to coach sixth grade basketball. I was sort of the defensive coach. I yelled that throughout the games. Show your hands. I mean, if you show your hands, now you got to be able to be agile. You don't want to just have your hands sticking out and not be able to move. But if you show them and they're not on the body of the defender, you're probably not going to get a foul called. So, I did hear that mentioned last night. And, again, it was part of the big overall picture of just making sure to not fall for the pump fakes and to not allow the Grizzlies those easy free throws.
Hey, before I let you go, I mentioned the Clippers and the Nuggets that Sunday, Monday. I'm not a big fan of the 5 o'clock Sunday afternoon, 7 o'clock Monday evening starts right here. And I don't know if it's because that Hornets game or not, but it just seems like that's never – maybe it goes back – didn't they have a Philly game too that was equally bad in that particular time slot? I'm not a big fan of that time slot.
Well, you're not a fan in general or because of the back-to-back? Because if you're going to play a back-to-back, I would just assume play at 5 then 7 to give yourself, maybe a little more rest on Sunday before the Monday game.
I don't like the 5 o'clock Sunday late afternoon. Maybe I'm wrong. It always seems like that the Pacers get, I guess we're accustomed to some of these slow starts. We saw it last night, but it's inevitable on a Sunday afternoon late game that in the afternoon they get off to a slow start.
We'll see. I don't dislike them as much as you, and I do like the opportunity for more youngsters to be at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And when you do play the 5 o'clock game, it's a little bit better for the families. And so I guess that's one of the positives. They found a sweet spot in the schedule because I don't know that there are any Sunday games at home this year that are later than 6 o'clock. So for whatever reason, that's the decision they've made. And again, because you play Monday, I am glad that it's a little earlier so they can get back and get some sleep before that Monday game, because we've known this season second half of back-to-back situations haven't been kind to the team, especially with the way they play. They want to get out and go. They want to run up and down. They want to sometimes press full court. Hopefully there's not fatigue for that Monday game, because it'll be a fun one on Monday against Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets.
All right, 4:30 coming up on Sunday, late afternoon, right, for you guys in the pregame?
That's correct. So, a little earlier than normal. I'll have that in mind. Try to bring extra energy to get JMV fired up for this one, because he doesn't want to be an early broadcast.
Well, I mean, the Clippers have a really good reason if they wanted to, the way they were dealt with out in L.A. by the Pacers, getting out to that lead and then losing that lead and losing the game. They may have a little feeling going there, too. And Zubats, if there is an opportunity for Pacer fans that don't like Miles to get at me, Zubats is normally a game in which you can get at me.
I am interested to see, and that coaching staff is a really good one with, Ty Lue and then Jeff Van Gundy as his assistant, and a lot of guys that have a lot of experience. So I'm interested to see what they do to counter the Pacers. I'm also interested. They were in Milwaukee last night, had a lead, lost it late, and they've got to spend an extra couple of days in the Midwest sort of preparing for this game in Indiana. And we know the Saturday nights in Indianapolis, they can be problematic for the opponents, right? James Harden could be out late. You never know.
Are they here already?
Well, I don't know that they're here yet, but between Milwaukee and Indianapolis, I know they're not flying back to L.A. So they'll be in the Midwest at some point for the weekend getting ready for Sunday.
Well, I'm not so much worried about Hart. I'm worried about getting Norm Powell drunk. That's who you need to get. Let him have a hangover. That guy, or Zubats. Zubats has a sore foot or something like that. Because that, as I mentioned, that's normally a game when somebody wants to get at me because of my beliefs and my angles here. That's one you can get at me about.
Well, and like you said, it'll be fresh in the mind that they gave up, 24-point lead to the Pacers.
Yep.
And that was in the snap of a finger as well. That was also in the second quarter. So we'll see what happens in the second quarter on Sunday.
JJ, have a great weekend, I guess, before you get fired up and get back at it coming up on Sunday. And we'll do it again, I'm sure, next week.
So will you be there on Sunday? I know I saw you at that 5 o'clock Hornets game.
Do you want me to go down? Yeah, I could. I'm not doing anything. Sunday's kind of my day to chill a little bit. I just kind of sit around the house and don't pay too much attention to anything. So I could. I'm not doing anything. So if somebody wants to take me, you think anybody out there wants to take me?
Well, you just sent the memo out. I'm guessing there would be some Pacers fan that has it.
Would anybody like to take me to the Pacer game?
Game with JMV.
Yes. I like sitting right behind where you're working right there, too. That's good. Because they check the monitor right in front of me, those officials, and they love me.
You can kind of give bunny ears when they're talking into the monitor for the replay reviews.
And Tyler Ford and I have made right. We're good friends now.
Really?
So, yes. I don't know that for sure, so. That David George just said that he's not mad at me, so I trust D. George.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as long as he, works on his officiating, we'll be good.
I think he got past the time I called him, quote, that pipsqueak official. So
well, that was probably over the line. I did.
Yeah. So, I can be a jackass, and I own it. So no doubt. No, I think we're buddies now, though. I think we're good.
All right, well, that's good.
All right, buddy.
I think I've hit a golf ball into his backyard a couple of times, so I hope he's upset with me.
All right, tell everybody I'll go if they want to take me on Sunday.
You just did, so hopefully I look forward to hearing the update to see who invited you to join them at the game.
I better be getting a text from Chad Buchanan here relatively shortly. That's it right there.
All righty.
All right, buddy. Take it easy, JJ.
All right.
Jeremiah Johnson, Pacers TV. Quick break. We'll come back. I wanted to start out with that win last night and really get into it. We'll get to your calls at 239-1070. The stream, the app, the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live, the AAA Travel Expo 2025. Don't miss it tomorrow, the Ritz Charles in Carmel. Make sure you tell them I sent you. That dream vacation tomorrow, you can find it at the Ritz Charles in Carmel with AAA. Bob Lovell, Mike Wells, Don Fischer, Chris Kramer, the Gorman, Dave Matthews Band tickets, all on the way. Sit tight on this Friday. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
JMV.
If somebody gets in your face and calls you a I want you to be nice.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Mike Wells of ESPN Radio, Chris Kramer, the former Boilermaker guard. We got IU-Purdue Part 2 coming up on Sunday, 1:30. That's the tip down in Bloomington, 12:30. Your coverage begins. Don Fischer, voice of the Hoosiers, joins us in the 5 o'clock hour. And you can hear that game over on 93 WIBC. James over there. I am John. Thanks to everybody yesterday that came out to Tom's Watch Bar. Thanks to our friends at Miller Lite. Thanks to Doug Bowles and to Brett Michaels. And both Tyson and Nick from the All-American Rejects made yesterday's show spectacular. It was great. Carb Day 2025, the announcement. And then the artists joined us on the show yesterday, along with Speedway president and IndyCar president Doug Bowles. Great day at Tom's Watch Bar yesterday, and I want to thank everybody also for showing up and being a part of that. That means a lot. Remember, next week, Tavern Tour Stop in Broad Ripple at the legendary Connor's Pub with Brent Halverson, Heaven Hill Distillery, and the bourbon, as usual, will be flowing. Next week, Tavern Tour Stop, Connor's Pub, we will be in Broad Ripple. Shout out to Romy. I know my man Romanette put that bad boy together there for February. Well done. Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline right now from Indiana Sports Talk. Every Friday brought to you by your 13 Central Indiana, Joe Childers operated Express Pro Tire and Auto locations. Bob Lovell is joining us on this Friday. Hello, Bob. Are you back in town?
Absolutely, John. Back in town.
Well done, because I know you've got responsibilities, you and Greg Straw, do you not, on Sunday?
That's the reason I'm back, because of those responsibilities. Takes a day or two to get prepared, to be honest.
And so, no doubt.
Greg and I are on the air Sunday night, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock for the pairing show.
You guys run through them about as fluidly and knowledgeably as possible, and that's a testimonial to you getting back here and having to do that hardcore research, because there is certainly a lot to research. Before we get to that and the pairing show coming up on Sunday, you got the girls semi-state around the state of Indiana coming up tomorrow. Let's start with the 26-0 season to this point and how impressive Hamilton Southeastern has been. That 4A semi-state, Valpo at 19-7, their opposition coming up in Frankfort tomorrow.
Well, I just think that HSE's been one of those teams. Everyone expected them to be good. They clearly are. Play a difficult non-conference schedule. And then, the tournament situation has clearly not been easy. And so you get to this point, John, I think we all understand you got to be pretty good. You got to get a bounce here and there, a call here and there, to have some success. And Brian Satterfield's team has done that. But now you're just everyone you play. You mentioned Valpo is good. Warsaw has had a tremendous run to this point in girls basketball and 4A. So as you'd expect, they're going to be tremendous matchups all around on Saturday in girls basketball semi-state action.
I have given the employees, including baseball head coach Brendan Dudas, I've given them a heads up that there's semi-state action at Southport for 4A, and because we play on Sunday mornings, that we got to make sure that the nets and the ladders are out there so we can play coming up on Sunday morning after they play on Saturday afternoon and then coming up on Saturday evening. That is a loaded lineup, to say the least. Let's start with Pike at 19-6, Bloomington South at 23-2 with, I believe, a Fife and a Sewell as a part of that group. And Larry Winters has been their coach at Bloomington South for 26 years. That is a long way.
And he's won a lot of games along the way, too, John. He's a class act, a good guy, tremendous coach. Pike Bloomington South is a nice matchup. Gibson Southern and Lawrence North in that second game. I think people are hopeful. If you're a local, if you're around here, you're hopeful for a Pike LN matchup in the championship game next week. It'd be kind of fun to see if in fact it would happen. But it's gonna be a tough matchup at Southport tomorrow.
Yeah, you got Gibson Southern and LN, Stephen Thomas's team. I've seen them play before. They are a very talented group also coming up from Southport. And also want to outline this. In 3A, it's interesting because you're going to get Cathedral and Roncalli, and I am a tremendous fan, as you know, of Jason Sims. Nothing against Cathedral whatsoever, but I am at the top of the list of the Jason Sims fan club. I think he's an outstanding coach and an even better human being. And the Roncalli Royals are having an outstanding close to their season. They get a Cathedral squad 18-9. They got to go all the way to New Albany to play that coming up tomorrow in the 3A semi-state, but that should be a humdinger.
I don't think there's any question, and obviously those of us who are local, we scratch our heads and say, why are they traveling to New Albany? Well, that's how this shakes out. It's a state that, sometimes it's not perfect where you can do this for you. But whatever you're playing, whatever sport you're playing, Cathedral, Roncalli, whatever sport they offer, it's a great matchup. It's a big rivalry. Same thing here. These are two well put together teams. And clearly, this is going to be a great game.
Yeah, we should also note that Greensburg, because I have Decatur County calls me all the time to this show, 25-0. And I would tell you that there are some younger girls that I have seen that may be sophomores and certainly freshmen as a part of this group that I've seen when they were much younger playing with Laney on other courts when Laney was playing. And you can kind of see this all evolving together for Greensburg with this particular group when they were even younger. And at 25-0, they have certainly made their mark so far.
Right. Well, they've been ranked number one all year for a reason, John. They're that good. They've taken on all comers. Think about it. You are number one. You're undefeated. You've taken everybody's best shot, as the cliche goes, and they're still standing and haven't lost. And so I think that's evidence enough of how good they really are.
It's a Bob Lovell Indiana Sports Talk coming up this weekend, and then the pairing show, boys sectional pairings coming up on Sunday from 6 until 8 with Greg Rakestraw. I should also mention, too, Sheridan, 25-1 versus Rensselaer Central. That's at Logansport. And then in 2A as well, Heritage Christian, Brownstown Central. That is down in Jasper. See what else of local interest. That may be pretty close. Anderson Prep in Class A, South Decatur in Class A. Both those teams in an opposite bracket down in Shelbyville. That pretty much covers everybody in girls semi-state play coming up tomorrow, but it is a loaded Saturday schedule for real.
There's no question. And what a fun night. Championship Saturday night, right? Fun. And then you find out who's coming to Gainbridge Fieldhouse next week for what's always a tremendous day of basketball for the state finals. So great time of year, John. Fantastic time of year for all of us here in Indiana who love basketball.
What I think about with girls basketball is this, how much, Bob, it has grown.
Oh,
even prior to the explosion in Caitlin Clark mania.
Right.
And then this is, to me, almost akin to the explosion we saw in football around here after Peyton Manning was drafted to the Colts and became their quarterback. You saw how that exploded, especially on the high school and the youth level. And it was already, girls basketball was already big time coming, and I think it's going to be even larger now because the Caitlin Clark effect. It's going to be interesting to gauge, what happens even more with the level of talent around here with that effect.
That's a great point, John. I think that's a valid point of tremendous comparison. And I want to remind everybody, this is the 50th girls' state finals. They're making, understandably, spending a lot of time trying to bring that message forward to people. That is the 50th year. I was around. You were around watching that first state finals. Judy Warren, Miss Basketball. You talk about trailblazers. She and others from that era have put this thing where it is now, and young ladies like your daughter and others have a chance to really have great heroines to look up to and role models. And it's just so much fun to see how our state has embraced it in these 50 years. They've gone quickly, but it's a tremendous, tremendous situation for everybody in our state when girls basketball is as important as it is and rightfully should be.
I don't know if there's a president of the Jason Sims fan club, but if there would be one, I'd be it. I'm it. I think they know that over there now. All right. Tomorrow night for you on Indiana Sports Talk, and one more time, 6 until 8, you and Greg Rakestraw with the fellas and the sectional pairing show coming up on Sunday night.
That is it, John. It's going to be a fun weekend. I'm looking forward to it. I always think that when I have this conversation with you, my weekend begins. So thanks for getting me started.
I got you.
Hopefully I'll have enough energy to get through.
It is a kickstart that is necessary. I'm always here for you, Bob, if you need a little juice, a little energy for the weekend. I'm here.
I know that. I appreciate that. That's what gets me through. I'm able to sustain this fast-paced lifestyle, knowing that you're there for me.
You got it. Have a great time on both
Thanks,
shows
John.
tonight, tomorrow night, and then the sectional parenting show with Greg coming up on Sunday evening. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, John.
Bob Lovell, Indiana Sports Talk on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline every single Friday, brought to you by my friend Joe Childers. We saw him yesterday. The 13 Central Indiana Joe Childers operated Express Pro Tire and Auto locations. My man Mike at US 31 and Stop 11. Stop him. Ask for Mike today. Make sure that your vehicles at Express Pro Tire and Auto maintain that level of winter road readiness. Mike Wells going to join us coming up here after 4 o'clock. We're loaded, too. Chris Kramer had some video advice for the Boilermaker players going into IU this weekend, riding a 3-game losing streak. We'll talk to Chris about that coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer at 5. The Gorman, because we got the Combine next week. As it stands right now, James, the plan is for me to be there for 1 day. But I love it so. Can I not be there more?
I'm sure we could arrange that if you so desire it.
I'd be okay if it's arranged for somebody else. That 1 day, I think I'll soak it all up or at least try. How about that? Next Tuesday is when I'm going to be there? Is that correct?
I believe so.
Next Tuesday. Well, some of the days, I think. Is it only Friday when I'm on the road? I think coming up next week. Is that true?
I believe that is
Tavern
true. Let me
tour
look here at
stop.
the schedule here.
Connor's Pub, as I mentioned a little bit earlier today. I believe that to be the case. We can figure that out later. There's nothing pressing about that right now.
Yep. Oh, no, you've got a Thursday and a Friday.
All right. Where am I Thursday?
It says you are at Connor's Pub.
Connor's Pub Thursday. Where am I Friday then?
Let's go back to this calendar here.
Nice. Let's just do this on the air.
Oh, yeah. And Tom's Watch Bar.
Oh, Tom. Back to Tom's. That's my home away from home right there.
Yeah, you can go ahead and set up shop there.
I think they put a bunk in there for me, and I just go ahead and go back there and go to bed.
They got a little fridge of tuna and cottage cheese for you.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, they go, you know what? I don't know. We have a great menu, but you're not currently eating off that menu. So here's your cottage cheese, your tuna. But we do have some bourbon for you back there, too. So that is all good. Tom's Watch Bar Friday, Connor's Pub on Thursday with our tavern tour stop. And Brent Halverson in Broad Ripple. Cannot wait to see you. 2 opportunities coming up next week. Can't wait to see you there. Mike Wells, top of the hour. Don't go anywhere. Dave Matthews Band tickets as well. A busy Friday. Pacers win last night. So test number 1 after the All-Star break against a very good team in Memphis passed. The Clippers and the Nuggets up next. Maybe the biggest test of the year back-to-back. 2 really good teams out west, and one, the Nuggets, in the second of a back-to-back, currently riding a 9-game win streak. That and more coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Sit tight.
Something. I'm gonna stare all day.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Jeremiah Johnson, Bob Lovell, podcast 1075thefan.com. Brett Michaels. The All-American Rejects. It was Tyson and Nick yesterday on the show. Podcast also there. Jeff writes this. So I'll be at the game Sunday coming up from Evansville. I need one of those JMV Sucks shirts just in case I am on for the broadcast. You do need that. I will have to ask because normally they wait until Carb Day. Remember a year ago, our friends at the shop put together a Carb Day JMV Sucks t-shirt, and I'm assuming they will do the same this year. This is always one hell of an item. And while I've made jokes and references as I'm going to go shirtless on Carb Day, I don't think that will keep them from providing shirts for you with JMV Sucks on it. Now, hopefully that's the case. So, Jeff, I'll keep you updated on that because normally around Carb Day, that's when Brian and Alex come up with their latest creation of JMV Sucks t-shirts, and they have that available out there for you during Carb Day. Kyle wrote this. So, JMV, I just heard the Workingman's Friend might be closing. Any idea if that's true or not? Have yet to have an opportunity to check them out, but here you shout them out often. I think that there have been thoughts from Becky of doing that, but I think the thoughts, Kyle, of on and off, it's kind of like in the moment where you're just a little bit overwhelmed. It very well could happen, but I think as of right now, there are no hard target or pointed plans. I love Becky, and I will always, absolutely always support Becky and Workingman's Friend. And you talk about among the Indiana originals, you do not get much more original over decades, over eras, than you do with the Workingman's Friend. And I think right now what we need to do is go ahead and squash the rumors and then give Becky and Workingman's Friend our 100%, as we always do, full support. Because I have not heard otherwise. It would be incredibly sad, but I have so much love for that place. You know how I feel about history just in general of where we all live and certainly where I grew up and I've always called home, just like a lot of you. And it does not get more original than Workingman's Friend. So I think everything is okay as it stands, Kyle, right now. Quick break. Yes.
I don't know if you saw, they actually posted on their Facebook 54 minutes ago. They said, "We are not closing," is what they said.
We are not closing on their Facebook. I think we all get overwhelmed by feelings of, you know what, I got to hit the eject button on this. And then you think about it, and and social media provides a platform for that. But we'll continue to support because we love Becky and we love Workingman's Friend. Always and forever. All right, quick break. We shall come back. Thank you for that information because I am not logged into Facebook right now, James. Mike Wells, his 90s or maybe even 80s slow jam. We got a Love Fest going on tomorrow, I believe, out at Clues Hall. That's Jeffrey Osborne, John B. How about Indiana's own, Indy's own After 7? Gino Shelton put that together. I think some of you won some tickets to go. Little slow jam Love Fest with Wells, Chris Kramer, former Boilermaker guard, and Don Fischer, all still to come. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
You're fat.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, we got a big love fest coming up this weekend. And it's happening in Brownsburg. Actually, no, it's happening at Clues Hall. Geno Shelton's putting it on. But in Brownsburg, we're going to get those tones belting out one of the classics, and somebody that's going to be a part of it on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, and Mike Wells.
The rain, the moon, the stars, and the lightning give you my world. And all that is before and anymore. Girl, I want you more than you can know.
Oh, hit it.
Ready? Oh, I messed that. Hey, I messed it up. Shocking, but hey.
Yes.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Got to get after it. Get at it, Wells.
Ready or not, I'll give you everything, every little thing, and more.
That's beautiful, man. I'm telling you what, it sounds like that you come from the Edmonds family.
Oh, man. Listen,
are you in Edmonds?
I tried to get them to put my name on the sign that's around in Indianapolis when it says home of Babyface, but they said, nah, hell no, you can't be insulting the Edmonds family like that.
Well, I thought Kevon was going to come on this week, and his agent reached out to me, and then I didn't hear from him the rest of the way. Because, you know, they're playing tomorrow at Clues because our good friend DJ Geno Shelton's putting on the Love Fest after 7, John B. and Jeffrey Osborne tomorrow night.
You're lying.
I wouldn't lie to you.
How am I just hearing about this?
You didn't know about it? I thought you. How does Love Fest happen and you not know?
I have no idea about. Oh, get the hell out of here! And John B's gonna be. Oh,
John B's gonna be there.
Damn.
Oh, we could have gone with John B too. I just went with after 7 because of the local ties, but we could have gone with a re-entry from John B.
Oh, man. And so he's playing on Butler campus tomorrow.
Yeah, Clues. The headliner is Jeffrey Osborne. Are you a big fan of the Woo 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 song, You Should Be Mine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, I had no damn idea about that. Can
you imagine the creations that will happen because of Love Fest tomorrow night?
Hey, you should do your JMV takeover show.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah. I'm already creating all those happy endings the way that it is.
Man, I bet you are, brother. I bet you are. Hey, I'm gonna jump right into it, man.
Yeah.
So last night,
please,
I had three IU media students cover the Pacers game. So I went in because I like to see the crew of Mark Boyle, Denary, Quinn Buckner, Chrissy Myers, the whole everybody that was there when I was there. So
right.
And it was funny. Somebody asked Miles about passing Reggie Miller to become the franchise's all-time leading rebounder in the press conference afterwards. And your boy Miles, I think you guys are related. Either he is the black, taller version of you, or you are the white, shorter version of him, because Miles keeps receipts.
Yes,
and
he did.
He acknowledged that he was being petty, and because of the criticism he faces for his quote-unquote inability to be a dominant rebounder. And he said it in the microphone, I know I'm being petty about it, but he's happy to have that record. I immediately thought of you, because I know Miles has taken a lot of criticism over the years, and not only the rebound last night, he was beating up shots left and right. You would have thought that was a version of the late Dikembe Mutombo out there beating up shots.
I think about it in these terms, and I've said this to him before when he's been on the show. There are times, Mike, when I wish that he wouldn't blank around on social media and read all that stuff, and clearly he does. But then there are other times when I think, maybe it does motivate him a little bit. I think, to me, he's kind of matured in a way in how he digests social media, to taking that now as motivation more than kind of going into a shell. I always thought that had, and he would probably, and he has with me before, disputed that, but I always thought that had a bit of an impact on him because he takes that to heart. I mean, let's just face it, he's a dude that really wants to be liked. He's a likable individual. He's always out there. Today he's out in the community doing things. He likes people. He wants to be liked, and I used to think that really had a bit of an impact and the negative on him. But then there are sometimes I think maybe he gets a bit of inspiration by some of the jackasses out there. So it's whatever best suits him, but we've talked about that before around here because I think it has had a bit of an effect on him in the past.
Yeah, and I know, you know, we have fun with Miles and stuff, whether it's the good days or when he's had problems. Why so much criticism, though? I mean, this is not like he was a top 5 pick in the NBA draft and he was supposed to be the franchise player. He was supposed to be just another piece to go with Paul George and company back in the day. So why so much?
Well, I mean, Larry, if you remember, Larry said he could be the best player in the history of the franchise at one point in time when they brought him in. So that set the bar pretty high with a lot of people back then. But this is not everybody, but you get some people out there that look in the mirror, you know, and see themselves of this tough ass, badass person, and when they hear about, you know, Lego collector and builder and all this, you know, they you know, and again, we're talking about people that are incredibly soft and couldn't play 5 minutes out there. Could not play 5 minutes without puking all over themselves. But, you know, they reference him as soft. So I think that sentiment, though, Mike, has really lessened over the years because I think people now really, truly, and you saw it again last night, you see the impact that he has on a game, whether he's blocking a shot or just being in there when he's actually out there with his guys compared to when he isn't. There is just a significant difference in the effect that he has on a game defensively, whether he's blocking a shot or not, because he gets respect. He gets respect into the lane, and there is a complete lack of respect when he's not out there. And that is something that even the biggest knucklehead out there can see, unless their head is completely up their ass.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, man, that was a crazy ass game last night.
It was, yeah.
Fall behind by 13, and all of a sudden they're up almost 30 points, and then the Grizzlies get it back down to 4. I'm like, that's like if you're a diehard Pacers junkie, that's like a roller coaster of emotions during that game.
You know, it's funny. They've had games. That Clipper game was like that they won a couple of weeks back out in L.A. And if you watch the NBA, there have been these landslide runs, these incredible runs that we have seen over the course of the season. Does that come with the three-point shot?
I mean, that's what I'm about to say.
I mean, that's got to be it, right? Because when all of a sudden you don't hit it in volume because you're taking so many, that becomes incredibly noticeable. But when you do knock them down and you're on a bit of a run, you're in a zone, that's what leads, I think, to these big runs that I don't think we have seen this consistently in a while.
Yeah, I mean, the art of the three ball. I mean, you think about Memphis came out, they were shooting the ball well from the beginning, and John Morant was horrible at the start of the game, and they were up by 13 because of their ability to shoot the three ball. And then all of a sudden, speaking of Miles had what he had the back-to-back. He had three threes in the second quarter. Tyrese got going a little bit out there with the three ball, and then all of a sudden the Pacers, they're rolling again, and it tells you how much the game, the NBA has changed, and the value of the 3-point shot.
And I think people see him stuffing the box score last night from every conceivable angle and believe that he should be doing that every game, and he's just not going to do that every game. And that's something that I've understood. I mean, I have disappointments in their play all the time, but you move on and you try to be better when you're out there the next time, and then you try to put together these consistent performances, which I think for the most part he has, and that's what we're looking for from them. And I thought last night, Mike, was a really good start against a very good NBA team.
Very good NBA team. I think they were second in the West, if I'm not mistaken. And what I liked about it is that the starters got off to that slow start. The bench came in, gave them some energy, and then the starters came back in, and all of a sudden they took off.
Yeah.
And that's what you want out of a good basketball team. If one area is struggle, is one part of the team is struggling, the other part comes in, picks it up, and holds things down until things get back in sync. And I thought that was a perfect example of the Pacers last night.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough one. It's great they have 4 back-to-back, or I should say 4 games consecutively together. But, Mike, when you think about it, every team's won 31-plus to this point. You get the Clippers coming in that have won 31. You get the Grizzlies last night, and then the Nuggets in the second of a back-to-back. That's coming up on Monday, and the Nuggets have now won 9 straight at this moment. So this thing is not easy, and as I mentioned, these are expectations. Like last night, I thought lived up to my expectations. Not scoring 50 in a second quarter. I don't expect them to do that all the time, but I expect them to put together games like we witnessed against a good team and be more on the reg with that after the All-Star break, and last night was a good start.
No, very, very much so. So it was good to be back in the middle. Like I said, that was the first game I've been to this season.
Was it really?
Yeah, I've watched my fair share, but that was the first time I've been in Cambridge all season, and it was definitely good to be back in there. Do they still have Radio Row, the Combine and stuff? Or you gonna be down there next week?
Yeah, Tuesday I believe I'll be down there. So does that sound exciting to you? Do you want to go too?
Hell no. Zero interest in being down there, worrying about how fast somebody runs or how somebody throws the ball with air versus route. No, I'm good with that.
You don't want to talk up somebody's hand size? That doesn't excite you at all?
No, see, yeah, that was probably in all my years, that was probably my least favorite thing, the Combine.
Yeah. Because
everybody gets so hyped off of what somebody's able to do against no defenders out there or no offensive players out there. They're talking about how quick he can break on the ball, and then all of a sudden the player doesn't pan out to do anything, or you got all these people out there circling around the podium trying to ask some of the dumbest questions out there to these players. So, yeah, I'm going to let you handle that, brother. So I take it Tuesday. Tuesday must be the day that Ballard and Steichen are talking.
Yeah, they're both talking during my show on Tuesday.
Or are they going to come in and sit down with you?
I wouldn't hold my breath.
Oh, really?
I probably won't hold my breath. But I will say this. The other shows, I've had Ballard and Steichen very recently, or most recently. So the other shows are probably going to be in line. But, yeah, I doubt if they're both going to finish up their times. They're an hour apart on Tuesday, both during my show window. So I doubt if either one will be led over to me for a conversation.
Hey.
So you will not be able to see the Chris Ballard crossed arms in disgust about talking to me inside the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live.
Hey, I was going to ask you, man. So have you had him on your show since the season ended?
No, I haven't. No, he was on during camp, and I'll give him this. I mean, he's aware of, and you'd be tough not to, of the massive criticism, and has been for a while. But to a degree, I think that he gets it. And I kind of understand the parts that he probably gets mad at, saying, who's this jackass to say anything? But, this is part of the gig right here. And we have to go by the evidence that they have created for us. And the evidence is right there in front of you. It is non-winning, non-title winning within the division, not going to the postseason. And, there's a reason why a lot of us felt that a non-rinse and repeat situation was finally due for this organization, and would question still going into 2025 intact the way that they're going.
Yeah, hey, listen, I was going to ask you if he was on after the season and how he handled with you. I'm in this moment. I know this is your show, but I'm in this moment where I want to touch on a lot of things, and okay. I got to be careful on how I phrase this next thing, man.
Okay, bud.
Because I'm doing this from a journalistic standpoint.
Well, I wouldn't know what that is. You're going to have to define that for me, because I'm far from journalistic on anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing this from a journalistic standpoint and not based off of the fact that my paycheck comes from this university. But I got to tell you, this whole Mike Woodson thing, if I'm covering the IU men's basketball team and you're not allowed to ask questions about Mike Woodson's departure at the end of the season after the university sent out the athletic department sent out a statement, as a journalist, I'm pissed off about it because that is the only thing anybody wants to know about right now is Mike Woodson not being here next year. And them only bringing out players when they win. If I'm covering the team, I'm like, I'm not asking any questions when they win. I don't want any players. If I can't get them when they lose, or I can't ask about what Mike Woodson has meant to you, or why do you think you guys aren't, you haven't lived up to expectations, that's not a good look. I'm PO'd if I'm the Jeff Rabjohns or the Zach Ostermans of covering the Hoosiers.
Let me counter what you said right there, because when asked about this, and again, I had mentioned I can't define journalistic, much less practice it on this show, but my point has been this, and I understand if you cover the team and that is your job and you're not able to do your job, but my counter has been, Mike, all right, so what are we going to learn? Are we going to learn even more that he's forced out and, this is just some kind of, hey, we're going to try to make this and play as nice with him as possible? What to me, he's got really nothing that I want to hear to say. Does that make sense? There's nothing I really care to hear. I don't know what he can add to We've seen it, right? We have seen it. We know that he doesn't want to retire. We know he doesn't want to go in this fashion. I just don't know what more there is to add. But I get where you're coming from. I get where I don't know what Don Fischer feels about it because he's not talking to him, I can imagine, and we'll ask him after 5. But to me, I don't know what more you need to hear because we've seen it, we've heard it, and we know it now, and they're moving on, and that's that. I don't know what more there is to hear. Go ahead.
It's something. It just has to some type of elaboration because a statement, it says the news, but at the same time, there's got to be a million. If you're a beat writer,
you need to hear him own failure. Is that what it is?
Yes, you got to as a beat writer, you can say, hey, I got a million questions to ask. And, I've got a number of students who cover the men's basketball team, and they continue to ask me how I would cover it, how I would handle the situation if I were covering the team. And, they don't want to get in trouble by, breaking the rule, asking questions or whatnot. And I said, honestly, if I'm somebody at the Star or if somebody from ESPN comes in, I'm throwing the question out there. I'm going to ask Woody, and if Woody says I don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But you got to at least give him an opportunity to say, hey, I'm not talking about it or whatnot. So I'm looking at this from the microcosm from a journalistic standpoint. If I were the IU beat writer in a publication and not being able to do my job and ask questions about what's going on with the status of the program.
I got a question for you two about this. Do you think, because clearly that Scott Dolson in this whole thought process was trying to ease the blow, right, for somebody that had played there and was revered there as a player. So clearly that's what he was trying to do because you had, the negativity in the crowd from the fans and chanting Fire Woodson. Do you think now, because he shut down conversation in the fashion in which he has, that you kind of look at it and go, yeah, you know what? Maybe you should have just soaked it a little bit more, because they could have had him do it and he would have to walk in there and get booed. Had to walk in there and hear the fans chant Fire Woodson. They could have done it that way. Do you think that there would be a change of heart in how they've executed this plan, because they were trying to do it as nicely as possible, and without his availability now, he is able, to shield himself from any of the criticism? Do you think that matters to them anymore, or are they still happy with the execution of this plan mid-season as they went with it?
Oh, I mean, you got to, if you're on the athletic administration, you got to be like, all right, this is working out perfectly. We release a statement, and he's not answering any questions about it. Players aren't answering any questions about it. So yeah, you got to be happy because it just basically now the only thing that's talking about when it comes to coaching IU is who is going to be the next coach. That is the only thing. A lot of speculation. That's the only thing they're talking about. But let me ask you this: I'm gonna flip it back on you.
Yes.
What if? Not that I mean, the odds of it happening are pretty slim. There's a better chance of you and I joining the G League of a team. Well, maybe you joining G League team. But what if for some odd reason IU goes on a hell of a run?
Sure. This keeps from that. Like this, like, for example, if they had made this announcement, then, all right, all of a sudden now you've got some heartstrings being yanked here. You know, maybe he deserves another season and another look. And with that, IU fans kind of, and I've explained it this way before, have their cake and eat it too. Let's just say IU goes on a run and they're fully engaged conversationally as far as the NCAA tournament. Let's just say that happens, hypothetically. Then you're still not tied to Woodson. You're still making the change. So IU fans, you know, get to live in the moment of their team winning some games and being proud of that while also getting what they want out of it, a coaching change.
Yeah. So it is, and it's going to be interesting when Scott Dolson does talk. I mean, like the direction that they're going to go next. I mean, are you going to say, you know what, we don't want any ties to previous, you know, to anybody with ties to IU previously, whether it was a player or assistant coach or whatnot. You don't want that to be around, or you know, is he done trying to get coaches who've never coached college basketball? Because the reality is the landscape of college basketball has changed with NIL. It's a business now. So, you know, the whole recruiting side isn't about sitting in somebody's living room and trying to sell your program. It's about, you know, talking on the phone and saying, we can give you X amount of dollars so you can live a nice life when you're on campus and, you know, hitting the portal. So it's been interesting paying attention to this from afar and being in the classroom with students who cover the men's basketball program and discussing different ways on how to tackle this assignment of trying to cover this team when nobody's talking about the only thing people want to talk about.
In closing here, I've discovered, I think I understand what is necessary. I think they need a very knowledgeable coach that also has a great deal of bat-S within. A little bit crazy and certainly knowledgeable. And I have described Mick Cronin. I have said Chris Beard, although he's not going to get a shot because of the baggage he carries around, and a guy like Brad Underwood at Illinois. I think you need a combination of, like Pat Kelsey of Louisville is another guy that gives you the combination of bat-S and basketball knowledge. That's what I'd be looking for. That's not the direction they're going to end up going, I don't think, but that's what I'd be looking for.
Okay, so, you know, you continue to hear about, I mean, Chris Beard simply, he wins.
Yeah.
At what point do you forget about at what point does somebody forget about the baggage? Clearly, old man.
I don't think it's going to happen there. Yeah, Mike.
There?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. So, yeah, I just don't think that's going to be it. Hey, I do have to run here. What do you got working this weekend in closing, my friend?
Oh man, listen. Me and your favorite member of the Wells household.
Yes.
We're going to go check out the UConn women against Butler women tomorrow.
Nice.
Field House, the 4:30 game, and then we're going to come down to your side of town and watch the championship, the 4A semi-state championship game at 8:00 over at Southport High School. Will I see your name signed on the floor anywhere from where you were?
No,
3-point buckets and open runs.
You're going to know where I stroke it, and you're also going to know that they're going to have ladders and nets available. So when they cut all the nets down, that we can put them back up and play early Sunday morning. So. Right there where you are.
So that is our weekend. Man. I can't wait to get over to Inco, see my buddy Austin Parkinson, and see what his what the Butler lady can do against UConn. So, but hey, brother, have a great weekend,
you too,
man.
Mike Wells of ESPN Radio on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Chris Kramer, former Boilermaker guard, on what the Boilermakers, the team, should do prior to the Indiana matchup, part 2, coming up on Sunday down in Bloomington. Chris going to join us next.
The Ride with JMV.
I love JMV. He looks like Rascal Flatts guy.
Got a cool soul patch.
He does, and a buttery smooth voice.
Oh, yeah.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, top of the hour. The Gorman's going to be at the Combine next week. I'll be down at the Combine next week. The last word is later on tonight. We talked that up with the Gorman coming up before 6 o'clock. The last word at 6:30. Of course, the Pacers last night a win over the Grizzlies. We'll get back into that with you coming up in a minute. Sunday, 1:30, tip time, 93 WIBC. It is the sequel this season to IU and Purdue, this time down in Bloomington at Assembly Hall, and somebody that knows a great deal about the history of that matchup and that rivalry, the former Boilermaker guard Chris Kramer's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline right now. Chris, good afternoon. Happy Friday to you, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I was taken by your video a couple of days ago. A little bit of a thought to the players about their response within to a 3-game losing streak going into Bloomington on Sunday. For those that maybe have not seen the video, share your thoughts with the folks out there.
Yeah, so, after those 3 games, I think there's been some things that they could have done different, but I think it all starts with just accountability. Everybody needs to be held accountable from, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Trey Kaufman-Wren, all the way down to the last guy on the bench. Everybody has a role they play, whether that's in practice and getting everybody ready for the game or the guys that are on the floor for the most minutes. Everybody has a role. Everybody has to do their job to the highest of their ability. And I would say in these past 3 games in particular, they haven't done that for a full 40 minutes. And I think they need to get back to finding their identity on defense, stop just complaining and worrying about the refs, and then just get back to playing winning basketball. Make plays that impact winning. That's enough. It's about sacrifice. It's about Purdue winning. The individual accolades, all of that stuff will come with winning. But, what is your imprint going to be? No matter if you get 20 seconds of the game or you play 40 minutes, what is your impact going to be on the game to help Purdue win?
Here's Chris Kramer, former Boilermaker guard. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, 1:30 with Purdue and IU down in Bloomington coming up on Sunday. As a player with a 3-game losing streak, especially after playing the way that they did throughout the month of January to start the new year of 2025, would you have called the players only?
I think we would have. I think we need to get back to making the main thing, and that's winning, and that's getting everybody on the same page is, the way we just played these last 3 games is unacceptable. How are we going to fix it? People talk about coaching and all of these type of things. Coach Painter and the staff can only do so much. You could be so prepared, but as players, we got to go out there and execute it. And if we don't execute it, that's on us. Coach Painter, being the guy that he is, will be like, man, that's on me. But ultimately, as a player, that's on you. He's just taking the burden off of you and taking it on himself as he is the head coach. So they have to go out there and execute both offensively and defensively and be clicking on all cylinders. But more so than that, it's like they've lost their joy. They've lost having fun. They've lost playing together and playing hard. All of those things, it seems to me that they've kind of lost. And I want them to get back that confidence, that swagger that they were playing with, at the beginning of the new year.
Defensively, what stands out to you the most that has been the biggest of issues with this team? And we can really go back. They've lost 3 straight, but to some of the wins prior to, maybe those 3 wins, we're still talking about 76, 81, 72 given up to IU, Iowa, and USC, respectively, right here. What are some of the things that stand out to you defensively that this team, simply put, is not getting done right now?
I think it comes down to dictating and not reacting. So what I mean by that is, you making – for IU coming up, right? You make IU do what you want them to do. You don't react to what they want to do. So if Trey Galloway is running a pick and roll with Umar Ballo and you want to down it or go under, whatever, you execute what you want to do. You take away their main option on that particular play. You dictate, you don't react. But I think it comes down to also is discipline. Against Wisconsin, giving up backdoor layups, giving up wide open shots with 5 seconds and below on the shot clock. You can play defense for 25 seconds and just have one breakdown against a really good team that plays all the way through, and it's just a backbreaker defensively. So that discipline of playing 30 seconds of defense and then rebounding the basketball and then getting the chance to get out and push. And then also I think they did it in the first, let's say 12 minutes or so against Michigan State of, getting turnovers and being able to get out and transition to get easy baskets. But then, they kind of lost it a little bit. And we were the ones turning the basketball over and letting, Michigan State get out and run. So against good teams, you can't turn the basketball over. You have to find ways to get easy baskets. To score consistently in the half court in the Big Ten is tough. So how are you going to generate easy baskets, get to the free throw line, some of those things? But, I just want to see them go out there and play hard. IU's had, 9 days off. So they're going to be rested. They're going to be ready. But what is that response going to be from Purdue coming off of this 3-game losing streak?
He is former Boilermaker guard Chris Kramer. I mentioned the video you can check out on his X account. He joins us now on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. What do you think about that first meeting against IU? And to many, it was closer than A, it needed to be if you're a Boilermaker fan, and B, than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. I think you brought up Trey Galloway for a reason, because Matt alluded to that after the game about, getting to a strong hand and those straight line drives to the basket. It was something that he did, and he did it frequently, that kept them basically in the game late in that second half. Defensively, what do the Boilermakers need to do down in Bloomington coming up on Sunday? And what do you think about IU the first time you saw him in Mackey?
Yeah, I was at that game, actually. I was very nervous, to say the least, until Trey Kaufman-Renn hit that 10-foot hook to put us up, and then did we foul or did we not on Miles Wright at the end of the game? They didn't call it, so we'll take it. But I was impressed. I thought they played well. They had a very good game plan. Mbako played well in that game. Luke Goody played well. And then Trey Galloway, or actually Anthony Leal played well too, and Trey Galloway was pretty big time. He was getting downhill, straight line, getting to his floater, finding guys. Personally, defensively, if after that display, what he did of kind of putting guys in jail, keeping them on his back, and then being able to make decisions and kind of play at his own pace. I'm going under every pick and roll with Trey Galloway. We're going to see if he's willing to consistently shoot threes. And, if he's making them, we can adjust. But I'm going to make him prove it before we're going to keep going under and just letting him kind of have a field day with us.
It's interesting the dynamic you bring up here, because I'll bounce back to IU in a second on Sunday in that first matchup. But at Michigan State earlier this week, they got what they wanted, I thought, defensively. And Michigan State was who Michigan State has been from distance. They shot barely over 30%, but, man, a robust 58% from inside the three-point line. And I thought the athleticism certainly prevailed, and they got a lot of really easy stuff that when you compare Michigan State, their athleticism, to what IU has with their athleticism, that can be a scary thought, and that's something I think you can reflect upon in that first meeting and why there was a bit of a struggle, especially down the stretch with IU and putting away that game.
Yeah, no, 100%. You think about the way Michigan State was playing, it reminded me, what game did we play? earlier in the season where it was like Auburn, where it was like a dunk fest for the other team.
Right.
And, I think it just comes down to doing your job. And if you're supposed to be in help side to tag the roller in a pick and roll and you're not there and you're giving up an alley-oop dunk, that's a problem. One time, okay, raise your hand, hey, I messed up, that's on me, but it can't happen again. And that's consistently with everybody. If you're supposed to be in help side, you need to be in help side. There's certain guys on IU's roster that you're fine with giving up those threes to, right? You don't want to give it up to Mbako. You don't want to give it up to Luke Goody. The other guys, I'd say you're going to take your chances. Pack it in. Let's, we got to keep Omar Ballo off the glass. We want to make the game hard on Renew. We want to keep Miles Rice out of the paint. We want to keep Galloway out of the paint. But, we have to be locked in defensively because, let's be honest, the atmosphere is going to be crazy. They believe that they have a legitimate chance to win this game, especially coming off of, the game in Mackey. They're feeling good about themselves, and they've had 9 days off. So, they're going to have a game plan to come out there and fully execute to beat Purdue. So it just goes back to, again, what is the response going to be? Is Purdue going to be sulking after 3 games, after 3 losses in a row? Or are they going to come in there and, come out throwing haymakers and set a tone defensively of, this is how the game's going to be played today and, really kind of try to assert their dominance? Or, is it just going to be body shot, and it's just going to come down to the wire like it did last game?
And the points you're making here in closing with Chris Kramer, who joins us now, is the second half of Ohio State massively disappointing. And then they came out and left no doubt in that next matchup against Michigan. And the stretch run and the loss at Michigan was disappointing, but you did not see that similar mentality in, trying to get at Wisconsin at home and giving up 94 points at Mackey Arena in the fashion you saw in that bounce back after Ohio State. And that kind of stands out to me as being, for this team with this group and how they normally respond, that was disappointing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do think the way they play kind of defensively, and then with the lack of discipline kind of late in the shot clock and things like that. And then Tanji is an All-American. He's a stud. Purdue ran into a buzzsaw. And, I think, what were they, 20 for 22 from 2?
Yeah, they didn't miss basically in the second half.
And then, they hit threes. They get to the free throw line. They're, some of the best teams in the country shooting the basketball and from the free throw line. So if you can't get stops and you can't keep the ball out of the middle, it's a recipe for disaster. And, that showed it against Wisconsin. But the response from Ohio State against Michigan is what I expected against Wisconsin, and then that didn't happen. So I was expecting that against Michigan State. If I would have been a betting man, a sports gambler, I would have bet big money on Purdue to come out and beat Michigan State in the Breslin Center, and I'm glad I'm not, because I would have lost a lot there. So I'm hoping that, there is a response. This is a rivalry game. This game means a little bit more to everybody. But ultimately, it doesn't matter who Purdue's playing at this point. They have to get back to playing Purdue basketball, rebounding the basketball, playing hard, doing all those little things, sacrificing, playing with confidence to, kind of right the ship after these last 3 games to get the ball rolling in the right direction.
Hey, Chris, if you don't mind, win or lose, I want to double back and get you on Monday if you had a minute on Monday.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
We'll reach back out to you and get you on and break down, because you brought up a lot of great points here, and we'll see how it goes down, and we'll play off of that coming up on Monday with a reaction, okay?
All right, sounds great.
You got it, Chris. Thank you very much for the time. Have a great weekend. Chris Kramer right there, the former Boilermaker guard. Very good breakdown, I thought, especially from that Boilermaker angle of what is necessary on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. James, mark that down. We'll get Chris back on here on Monday for the IU-Purdue reaction from Chris Kramer, the former guard. Quick break, we'll come back. Voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, top of the hour. Dave Matthews Band tickets coming up. Gorman also on the way. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, and the AAA Travel Expo is tomorrow. The Ritz Charles and Carmel, make sure you stop by Tell them I sent you. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
Have you ever killed anyone?
Yeah, but they were all bad.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, crank it up for me, James here. Dave Matthews Band's got back-to-back dates coming up at Ruoff Music Center this summer, per usual. That is July the 11th and July the 12th. Normally, that is the case for Dave Matthews Band. Number 9 right now, courtesy of our friends of Live Nation, can be a winner. We would love to have you as a winner right now to go see Dave Matthews Band again, Ruoff Music Center, and a pair of tickets for you right now. Big fan of Dave. Big opportunity for you right here and right now at 239-1070. Hey, James, we do have Tony. I know we got a quick one right here, but I want to get Tony on board here really quick. 239-1070. Hey, Tony, welcome to the show. Go ahead.
Hey, appreciate it, man. 2 quick things, and the real reason I called you.
Yeah.
Miles showed us once again last night why he's so important. All the Miles haters can eat it.
Right.
Second, some bonehead journalist, I saw an article about Rick Pitino as a candidate. Dude, I would not watch a single IU game if a Kentucky coach was my basketball coach. Heck no.
Yeah,
And
I think Rick Pitino was talking up Chris Beard, was he not? In an interview, a podcast interview, a video interview, was he talking up Chris Beard? I think.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And really, nobody's talking about the candidate I want. And please keep me on, James, because I'm home now for his response. But nobody's talking about Tony Bennett, man. He retired. He got a ring at Virginia. He's a great coach. I want Tony Bennett.
Great coach, I'd agree. But I don't know if I'd want somebody that retired because he didn't like the landscape of college basketball, and the landscape being the same, if not worse, than college basketball.
He stepped aside?
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, Bennett and Wright, as good as they are, I mean, I can't see them coming back unless, you just want to get a huge paycheck because they just simply put didn't want to mess around with it any longer.
That sucks, 'cause I thought Tony Bennett was a great coach, man.
Yeah, well, he was. There's no doubt. I mean, there's no doubt what he did resume-wise, but I just don't think he was a big fan of the landscape now, and we know that's not changing anytime soon.
Well, man, have a good weekend.
Tony, thank you very much for the call. All right, this news, too, by the way, if you're an IU football fan, Purdue football fan, Barry Odom, new head coach Purdue, Kurt Cignetti going into year number 2 at IU. The Big Ten announced today that the 2025 Football Media Days will be held at Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, July the 22nd and 24th, or through, I should say, the 24th. So what used to be here at Lucas Oil Stadium, it is now Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. The 2025 Football Media Days. There you go. Quick break. We'll come back. Don Fischer, voice of the Hoosiers on the other side. IU-Purdue, round 2 coming up on Sunday. The voice of the Hoosiers joins us next.
You'll find.
Picture me?
No! The definition of the word idiot, which you f***ing are.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. JMV Takeover tomorrow night, 6 until midnight. In studio, all requests Saturday night. Hope to see you there. Hey, James, check and see if I have tickets to give away for that tomorrow night, too, if you wouldn't mind. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. Big Sunday gathering down in Bloomington. It is part 2 of the rivalry with Purdue and IU, the voice of the Hoosiers. Don Fischer is going to execute the pregame show at about 12:30, and then 1:30 is the tip time from Assembly Hall. And Don joins us now. Now, if I go to the game, can I be on the pregame show instead of the coach?
No.
Damn it.
We've already got guests lined up.
Do you now? Well, please explain. Elaborate on these guests you have lined up more than me.
They're just assistant coaches. I say just. These are the assistant coaches for the program, and they will handle the pregame, the postgame, and the talk shows for the rest of the year.
We have, obviously me, I've heard a lot regarding this because you're on every week. Does this situation bug you?
I don't know how to really say yay or nay to that.
Yeah.
Only because it bugs me in the sense that there's a responsibility that's not being taken care of. But at the same time, I get it to some degree. I don't understand why, because I've not been given an explanation as to why. But all I can tell you is that Coach Woodson has declined to do any more pregame, postgame, or talk shows. So that's all I can say about it at this juncture. Perhaps we'll learn something more at some time down the road. But at this juncture, that's all I'm saying.
Are you thinking about it's not you, it's me?
I haven't thought that way.
No. Well, don't. Okay, because it's not you. It's not you, Don. So,
it's you know what I'm saying. It's a little bit temperamental to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean it's awkward as hell, is what it is. And when people ask me, like they ask about the journalistic integrity of it, and then they lose me with that. Obviously, with the journalistic integrity, I get lost there. But I understand, because you're the longtime voice, and that's the expectation. Now, from my standpoint, and I know you're not going to do this. This would just be me. I don't know what else I can learn here. I think we all kind of know the evidence. I think we all kind of know where it is and where it's going. So that's kind of how I choose to look at it. But again, that's my lack of journalistic integrity probably leads me down that path more than anything else. So.
Why would I comment on that?
I would rather hear me. How about me? What's wrong with me on the pregame show? Come on.
No, there's no problem with that, John, except that we can't pay you.
Well, I don't need to be paid, but
No, I know.
You know how much better I am when I drink too. So I'd drink a little bit before I went on with you. We'd be great.
Well, that would lead me to have to be drinking too.
Oh man. I tell you, the one thing, you've had this for all these, it's never easy, is it? There's always kind of some kind of oddity and some kind of weirdness. And whether things are going right or in between or wrong, there's always some level of weirdness involved, isn't there?
There is that, John. There's no question about it. And if it was anything else, it could be a comedy sketch, if you know what I mean.
Oh my gosh,
it's not.
It's
not.
Yeah. Well, and you yeah. There's nothing more really you can say. I mean, I think you've hit it on all angles right now. I don't. Yeah. You just move on and go about your day. Well, have you asked Buck? Is Buck on the pregame show too? You just put Buck back on there. He'd talk.
Yeah.
You know that Buck won't be on anybody's show other than mine.
Yes.
It won't be on basketball. It'll only be on football.
You know, I have almost been moved to tears that he's never appeared on this show.
Well, maybe that's the way to get to him. Maybe I'll tell him that you've been
crying.
You've been moved to the point where you've been crying about it.
Something tells me he might soak up those tears of enjoyment right there.
I guess that's another way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in an affable way, but in tears of enjoyment, So.
No, I get it. I do.
All right, so
but, let's talk about the game.
I'd be damned if I know what's going to happen out of all of this. I mean, there are expectations of it's Purdue But the first time around, IU looked really good. They found some things with Trey Galloway, certainly late in that second half when he was getting to the basket exclusively, basically at will. You got that Michigan State win, but did you get that UCLA game that looked similar to a lot of these losses we have seen, being unable to close? And you got a Purdue team, losers of 3 straight. Any expectation about what the hell we see on Sunday?
I don't have any expectation because of the struggles that Purdue's going through right now. I mean, that's stunning that they've lost 3 in a row. Now, it's not like they played the Little Sisters of Poor in those 3 games. They played the 3 top teams in the league outside of themselves, but they have lost all 3. It's rare that they lose at home, but Wisconsin beat them in West Lafayette, which is something to say. And Michigan and Michigan State, we know, are both really good basketball teams, and winning at their places are really difficult. So it's not a surprise, so to speak. It is surprising to me that they've lost 3 in a row because that rarely happens to this Purdue basketball program.
Yeah. And here's what's interesting. I just talked to Chris Kramer, and we were talking about second half, they lose at home to Ohio State, and you could tell that had a profound effect. And then they get Michigan at home. It was a boat race from the beginning. Michigan had no chance. And you kind of felt you were going to get that from the Boilermakers after, the way things happened late in that game in Michigan. You come back to Mackey against Wisconsin, and Wisconsin puts up 94 points and basically didn't miss in the second half. So they're kind of in a place right now where they're searching. Is that Buck Sewer interrupting? That's Buck right now calling you, interrupting our interview, isn't it?
Let me look. Nope, it's not.
I didn't know.
It wasn't Buck.
You may have the only phone that still sounds like that rings like that anywhere.
And here's the sad part of that, John. Really, the only thing I use that landline for is to do interviews with players, coaches, that kind of thing, if that's what they want to do. Because I always give them options as to whether we can do it in person, whether we do it, on the phone. And the only reason I keep that line, the landline that I have here, is that there's a great way to record interviews off of it. And
sure.
So the rest of the phone calls that I get in that are either people that I know, and they, I've got a little thing on here that lights up and tells me who's calling, and if there's no name attached to it, I don't listen. I don't even answer it. So
it's not Matt Painter either, right? No Matt Painter.
No, well, Matt Painter will do an interview on Sunday. I'm certain of that.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
There is no
Matt
question.
Painter will do an interview. Yes, he will.
And actually, we've talked about that before, and I don't think he looks forward to talking to me, but I think he looks forward to talking to you.
I don't know, but he makes me feel like he's looking forward to it.
Oh, there's no doubt.
You got to think about this. Coaches oftentimes are very guarded about going, talking to the media or whoever. They are very guarded about that in many cases. But I've never felt that way with Matt. I've never felt that way with Tom Izzo. And there are most of the guys in the Big Ten Conference do an interview with me, and because I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
And Fran McCaffrey's another guy that a lot of people take umbrage with sometimes, and yet Fran is one of the better interviews because he always tells you the honest truth about his ball club and what he feels at that point. And again, Chris Collins is another one. Almost all the guys in the Big Ten do the interviews. Now the new guys, in the 4 conference teams that have just joined, I haven't gotten an interview with Vic Cronin. I have not gotten an interview with, let me think, who else we've done.
Cronin surprises me, knowing the history of IU basketball and how you are included for such a long period of time here. That would surprise me.
Here's what you got to know, too. when you ask the SID, and I always go through the SID
right.
To check to see if I can get an interview. And some of these guys won't ask their coach.
There's no doubt.
And I don't know that. I don't know that that the guys that I haven't gotten have been not asked. All I can tell you is that I would not want to supersede, go over their head, so to speak, to get the guy. Then I've got that guy angry at me. So I just do what I do, and if they say no, we can't get the coach, then that's fine.
Well, and then
analyst or the play-by-play guy.
Cronin probably made that SID like urinate himself at some point in time, dressing him down. So yeah, you might be right. There may be something where they just don't want to go and ask.
I know it's happened in football. It has happened in football. I can't tell you off the top of my head who I remember doing that, but I know it's happened in football.
Hey.
And most of the guys in football don't do it. Most of the coaches in Big Ten football will not do an interview with you, which is kind of sad.
See, look, the great Gritty. This is Jennifer from Evansville. Just chimes in. Big fan of yours, as you can tell. Of course, all the Big Ten coaches sit down for an interview with Don Fischer. Mr. Fischer is a professional and an icon. See, I never get any of that talk. I get a dipstick.
John, you're not thinking smartly about yourself.
Yeah,
because
dipstick.
People enjoy exactly what you do. Now, here's the thing: they may not enjoy what we do here between 5 and 5:20 or whatever. But at least we have fun.
I'd be honest with you. I think that this is probably a welcome path to take, considering some of the other junk that goes on. So as much as we have fun, talking about, we get serious, then we have fun, get serious and have fun.
Right.
And these are the circumstances in which I think that's necessary.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Lots of
What I don't know, and I just got back from Florida today because we went down for 3 days of golf sunshine.
Nice.
And it was so much fun because it was really warm down there, and I know it was really cold up here.
Did your pipes freeze?
For 3 days.
Did you have any frozen pipes when you got back?
No.
Good for you.
Doesn't have that problem. I had a great. The guy built my home here, 25 years ago, or 30 years ago almost now. This guy did a phenomenal job, and we've never had a problem like that ever.
Well done. Well, normally that is a concern if you go, especially as cold as it's been around here recently.
Yeah.
But good for you to get away right there. So, hey, by the way, did you see where Football Media Days going to be in Vegas coming up in July? Did you see that?
I did not see it, but here's what I will tell you about that.
Yes.
I won't be there.
Why not?
No way.
Are you a no Vegas guy?
Not. I am now. I'm more so than I went there for like 15, 20 years with a bunch of guys from Bloomington. We had a golf tournament, 3-day golf tournament out there for 15, 20 years that I went to it, and they were doing it longer than that, long before I got there, and they continued to do it after I have no longer participated. But I liked it, and I had a good time. We stayed at a great place that was not on the Strip, that gave you decent rates and all that kind of thing. Every time I went out there, though, after we got booted, we didn't get booted, but they couldn't get the same thing, and they started going to the strip clubs, not the strip clubs, but the establishments on the Strip. I mean, what to say. So when they started going on the Strip in Las Vegas to shut up now, John.
I love that. You just said strip club.
But when they stopped going, or they started going to hotels on the Strip, it just got way out of hand from a price perspective. And I just said, you know what? I'm an old farm boy from Illinois, and I'm not about to spend that kind of money on something as frivolous as Las Vegas.
Yeah. Mandalay Bay is where it's going to be coming up in July. So, yeah.
Well, good for them.
Yeah. No Don Fischer.
Going to Chicago. I stopped going to the coaches' media days, or the Big Ten media days, many years ago. And the only time I've been there since for either football or basketball was one time J.D. Campbell wanted me to go up there to go with Archie Miller. I think it was his third season or something like that. It may have been his fourth. I can't remember. But I went to that media day because Campbell told me that Archie felt comfortable when I was around.
Wow. Well, I'm just glad you didn't have to move to Rhode Island. That's good. So
You and me both.
Hey, one final thing before I let you go here regarding IU-Purdue. Any aspects you can take away? I mean, again, it was a close game. IU looked really good, I thought, to hang in down the stretch in that first meeting in January. Anything transferable from that matchup to what you think you can see coming up on Sunday or hope to see on Sunday?
Well, here's the thing that I would say about this game coming up. Indiana has had 8 days between games. So when they play on Sunday, it will be the first time they've played since last Friday, a week ago today. So it's going to be – this team has had plenty of time to get ready for this basketball game. Now, granted, sometimes you won't want that much time in between because it may be a little rusty when you get out there. But I would think that this ball club has really worked hard this week to get ready for this matchup and for the remainder of the season, wanting to put together something like the run that they had last year, if you remember, when they were kind of in the same boat at about the same time of the year, and they went on a 5-game win streak toward the end of, or at the end of that season that kind of soothed the soul, so to speak, for our fan base a little bit. But, of course, as things have progressed this year, things have gotten been basically the same kind of season, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And to have that, and now you've got the resignation of the coach at the end of the year, I just don't know quite what to expect. But I got a gut feeling that this team will really play hard in this matchup against the Boilermakers. They know what they were able to do the first time they played against them. They were not intimidated in that building. That's not easy to say because it's so tough at Mackey, especially when Indiana's on the front of your uniform. But I do think it's going to be a really good matchup once again. I think Purdue, without question, is a ball club that wants it in the worst way too because they've lost 3 straight. They want to be in the hunt for the Big Ten, at least, maybe not for the championship, although I still believe they've got a shot to get it. But at the same time, they'd like to be in that that foursome that will play get a couple of days buys going into the tournament because that's a rough road to hoe if you don't.
Yeah, it is. 1:30 tip time, 12:30 coverage begins coming up on Sunday. That's 93 WIBC. Voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer. All right, we'll be listening coming up on Sunday. Tell everybody I said hello.
John, we'll do it, buddy. Thank you.
So Don Fischer, voice of the Hoosiers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. That is always a pleasure, especially when he brings up strip clubs. It is. Speaking of which, other side, Gorman's going to join us. The last word tonight. Colts Radio Network, Combine in town next week. The Gorman's with us. Coming up next. It's been a busy show today. Thank you all for joining us in what has been a great week. Again, a shout out to Doug Bowles, our friends at Miller Lite, Tom's Watch Bar yesterday, the All-American Rejects, and Brett Michaels. That was the Carb Day announcement. And all of the above joined us yesterday on what was a spectacular show. If you missed any of it, the podcast is at 1075thefan.com. By the way, I think we're going to re-rack after 6 conversations with both Brett Michaels and the All-American Rejects. In fact, the Rejects are playing in Tempe, Arizona today as a part of a huge festival that includes the Black Keys, the Killers, and Fall Out Boy. But that's Tyson and Nick. We'll re-rack that. And a conversation with Brett Michaels, Carb Day co-headliners this season. That is coming up after 6 o'clock. This reminder, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, AAA's Travel Expo 2025 is tomorrow at the Ritz-Charles in Carmel. Don't miss it. Make sure you tell them that I sent you. Find that dream vacation and find Matt Godbout and make sure Matt's putting together a vacation for us all that's a part of or that listen to this show. If you see Matt out there tomorrow at the Ritz-Charles in Carmel, mention that. Find your dream vacation. That is the AAA Travel Expo 2025 going on tomorrow at the Ritz-Charles in Carmel. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, joining us now from the Last Word from the Colts Radio Network, it is the Gorman. Hello, Gorman.
John Boy, you're a big swinging you-know-what in town, so I need a little help out of you right off the jump here. I need some help this week.
Okay.
How do I get to Peyton Manning's Monday Night of Champions deal?
Well, do you want me to put you in touch with our good friends, Daniel Butler and the gang over at the Amira Old National Center, to see if we can get you in? I thought you would be front and center. What happened? Manning not hook you up with anything?
No. Listen, I can get in. I got tickets. But you know me, John. I want prime parking. I want to go in the backstage entrance.
Right.
I want to stand on stage while the act's going on, and then I head out early and beat traffic. That's what I'm looking for. So right now I just got upper deck seats, a pair for me and the fiance, but I don't know. I'm trying to work some magic here. So I'm at the bottom of the barrel if I'm going to you for any help.
Now, can you put on a Melvin Bullitt jersey and just say, "Hey, I'm coming in"?
Melvin Bullitt, that's a good pull.
I love Mel. Marlon and Mel. I used to do a show with them all the time, if you remember, at the casino in Shelbyville back on the other station days. They were awesome.
I remember that. I miss you up at those casinos. What's he doing? Do you know? Is Mel Bullitt? Is he coaching? I think he's coaching something last I heard.
Might have been. I think he's been involved as a personal trainer as well.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah, at least for a number of years. That may have changed here recently, but I know that in the past that's what he was doing.
Okay, seriously, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And your listeners are going to agree with me. Why do you have a dumbass like me on a Friday afternoon when you could be talking to Melvin Bullitt?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I have Melvin. I don't know if that's still Melvin's number or not. I had it, but I'm assuming after about 15 or so years, maybe it's changed. No?
How many times have you changed your number in the last 15 years?
Yeah, none, I guess.
Yeah,
right.
Well, why would Melvin Bullitt have to change his? I mean, I don't know what you're thinking about. Hey, listen, I ran in the alleyways for a lot of evenings in the 90s and early 2000s. And I still got the same stinking number. So
my mom still has the same phone number that she's had since 1975.
Oh yeah, same thing. Doty and Fair Square Laird, they had the same number up in Michigan. Same one. Yeah, fair.
That is so true. But no, here's what I'm doing tonight. Right, my best friend Elise Fields. I grew up with her. Is her birthday, and to celebrate.
Wait.
Yes.
Wait. Back up. I thought your best friend is coaching basketball at Michigan the way you talk about this kid. So how many best friends do we have?
Well, I grew up, Elise I grew up with. Basically, we're almost like crib mates. That makes sense. So, right?
Okay, got you. So your bestie growing up as a youngster. Go ahead.
So we grew up together, high school, all through school together, all that. And it's her birthday. So we're going to go celebrate and go see Howard Jones, ABC, and Richard Blade, DJ, at the Brown County Music Center tonight.
Nice. What's wrong with that?
No, it's great. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great night.
Have you ever seen Howard Jones at ABC?
No, but I mean, of course I know Howard Jones. I mean, I'm a kid of the same era as you. So, I mean, this is a big deal. Hey, you had the All-American rejects on the other day.
I did.
Now you're going to see Howard tonight. That's a pretty good couple of days, Bob.
I had Howard Jones on last week. I had Martin Fry of ABC on last week. We had Brett Michaels on yesterday, too. So, yeah, we're all over the musical universe right now, Gorman.
You had Brett Michaels on yesterday. How about that? Pretty good interview, right? Guy's a good dude.
He is a great guy. And you know this. I mean, you've been around musicians so long, obviously touring with the Black Crowes, not doing anything but carrying cables, but touring with the Black Crowes.
Yeah.
You know this.
I wish.
You know this to be true, that if you find a really good one, you hold that one near and dear, because there are not a lot of really good ones. He's one of them.
No, that'll be a great show. Yeah, I'm glad that the old boys are getting out and still doing it. I mean, I don't know if I want to go see Howard when he's in his 90s, but right now he's still got some juice left. Hey, you know who I want to get on with you? I was thinking about. I met a guy about a year ago with Irsay, was recording some Christmas music.
Right.
And he was a friend of a friend. The lead singer of, I think I might talk to you with this off the air. It's like,
yeah, that's Harvey Danger. Harvey Danger. Yeah.
So you got to talk to that lead singer. I met him, had a great 5 minutes with him. He's a good dude. He works now as, he's a 9 to 5 guy now. He doesn't do any music. He's working in the artist and relations for a label type thing. But it's just an incredible story that I've tried to do a quick interview with him while I just met him. And it's like, what happened? That was like the biggest song in the world for at least a couple of months. It was like every time he turned it on, and he talked about the up and downs of the band, and it was just that one song that did anything for anybody.
Flagpole Sitter is the song. Yeah,
Flagpole Sitter. So that's who you got to have on, John. You're good with those interviews with those musicians, but this cat, he was a tough egg to break, but it was just kind of fun listening to him, because I swear to God, I never even knew the name of the band. I knew the song Up and Down. I could sing it lyric for lyric, but I didn't know who the dude was or who the band was. Hey, am I going to see you at the Combine next week?
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, yes, you will see me there. Yeah, I'll be there. I think I've got conversations. I just don't think it's going to be with Chris or with Shane.
Well, then who? I mean,
I'm guessing. I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you. It may be you again.
Maybe me.
We may be doubling up with you next week. That may be it.
Yeah, you guys will have a table down there and everything. Yeah, no, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just going to say this. I hope this isn't the second to last Combine that we ever see in Indianapolis. And I'm not trying to go down a dark, negative trail here, but there's so much money and stuff in the NFL and their events that, John, don't you think that we're going to lose this out because of fan participation? Not seats. Obviously, we have enough of those, though, but more of the events geared towards
fans, because they want to turn it into an amusement park every year.
Yeah, in New Orleans, in Jacksonville, out in L.A., I mean, warm weather and everything like that. I think that's where we're going. So I don't know anything about much, but I do know this. Contractually, it's this year or next year, and I think they're going to open it up for bidding after that. So who knows?
Hey, the big question is, Gorman, when the Colts are drafting number 1 overall after this coming year, will we have the draft here?
Why not? Because if that's the case, then they're going to...
I'm just joking, by the way, too. I'm just joking, but yeah.
No, I'm just saying, if that was the case, the number 1 overall draft pick, I don't know if there's any quarterbacks coming out after this season. I'm not sure, but I don't know. I have to check the notes, but no, it could be. Yeah,
is it any wonder why Chris Ballard loves me so much as he does?
Does he love you?
I think so. I think he does. I think deep down inside, I think he has a great deal of admiration. But on the surface, he just views me as kind of a
Oh, okay. You sat down with him last year. Hey, how about this? I worked for the club. Listen, I worked for the club, and I didn't have a chance to sit down with him last year at the Combine. But our good feathered friend there, John, he was over there just yucking it up.
We were yucking it up, yeah. Listen,
I know.
I've always said this, Gorman. I'm not going to get personal. I'm not going to get personal. I'm not going to get mean-spirited. I'm not going to name call. We just kind of take the evidence that we have, that we see, and then talk it up. And that is just, unfortunately, that's been the evidence of 8+ years. And hopefully this 9th year is a change for him for the much better, a change in years 3 for the head coach and the quarterback for much better. But we have to go on the evidence, because I can't listen. There's no fooling the fan base out there. I mean, they see it just as much as anybody else does. And if you talk it or take a different angle otherwise, then you're really robbing yourself of a great deal of credibility, and that's worth more than anything to me.
Absolutely. Hey, I got one for you really quick. Talking a little Lou Anarumo earlier with Zaire Franklin, and, he's the global ambassador for flag football. He's got a new sort of title that he's doing. He's going to be the, worldwide global ambassador for flag football is Zaire Franklin, which is a big deal because in, I think, 2028 we'll have the Olympics, and the Olympics are going to have flag football out there in Los Angeles. So I ran into him, and I get talking about Lou Anarumo a little bit and his system and everything, and I said, in a nutshell, just give me what you like the most about him. And he said this, and I want to share this with you and the Colts fans that can hear it. I love it. He says, in our last defense, I had a lot of responsibilities. Obviously, the voice of the defense and stuff like this. I had a lot of responsibilities that I had to check the boxes before the plays went off. He goes, in this deal here, I got to look left, I got to look right. I got so much less to worry about, if you will, than checking boxes of responsibilities, because that's been distinguished to the outside guys. That he's just feeling free, that he's going to open them up. And we've seen it before in Anarumo defenses, like that linebacker, that Mike that he's playing is such a huge position, and another big year from Zaire Franklin away. So I know everybody was geeked up about it. Samson Ebukam, the same thing. Had to walk by him in the mail room today over on 56th Street, and he's just fired up about Anarumo because, that defense usually highlights, as we've seen the last couple of years, like with Trey Hendrickson, 17.5 sacks. And I know Samson Ebukam, a guy who's coming off an injury, is going to be licking the chops at it. So a lot of good things to look forward to. And we got the last word coming up, John. As you know, we're going to go over some things about the Combine. We're going to have Sean Sullivan on.
Nice.
Longtime equipment manager of the Colts, and him and his staff run the Combine for the guys, as far as everything from footballs to blocking sleds to pads to bags and every drill that you see.
Does he go by Frog?
Yeah, he goes by Frog.
I almost wanted to call him Toad, but it's not Toad, it's Frog. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, you'll end up in a pile of snow head first if you do that to him. He's a big fella, can be a little bit ornery, but
he's a little bit of a badass right there. I give yes. I agree with you.
He is. I wouldn't cross him. I know that. But anyway, he's on the show. He's a great dude, and he talks about his years of doing this. And, we get hopefully I'm going to try and gear him up for a couple of behind-the-scenes sort of fun stories that people don't hear. But like I said, him and his staff have been responsible for this for, 30-plus years or whatever, and they do a great job of it. But no one ever talks to him, so I thought we'd grab him today.
That's awesome. Well, we'll do that for the last word to be listening to. That's the Gorman right there joining us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You mentioned your fiance, you and your fiance going on Monday to Night of the Champions. Is there a reason why you don't bring her around me anymore? Are you afraid I'm going to ask too many questions, make too many statements?
No, not at all. She the bottom line is she's not a big fan of yours at all. I just don't know how to sugarcoat it, John. She's like,
I thought she acted like she liked me.
I like Joe Wrights. I love Casey Valier, Matt Taylor. Boy, great. But everybody but you. I don't know what it is, man.
All right,
Good
so
stuff,
you
man.
and Matt have the last word coming up tonight at 6:30, right?
That's right. We always bring on Showcase Casey Valier. He's our closer. He comes in. He's perfect this year. He's 24 for 24. And, we got a fun show. We're going to be talking stuff on Combine. And in the next couple of weeks, obviously next week, we're going to have a bunch of guests. I don't even know who's on our show next week. This is going to be one of those walk-bys. And, hey, you got 10 minutes to sit down? Let's talk. So we're going to have some good stuff coming from the Combine. Colts.com has the latest as well.
Great to have you back, my brother. Can't wait to see you down there next week.
John Boy, I got to talk to you about my woodpeckers now. I like talking about bird feeders and everything. We got a little issue going on. I got some critters that are climbing trees now. So next Friday, let's go over my critter report with Gorman. What do you say?
The instigator, the woodpecker.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. If you're a possum, if you're a raccoon, or if you're a squirrel, we got problems. If you're a woodpecker, I'll invite you into the house. You know me. I love my wildlife.
I think my mom still feeds like everything you just named right there, right out of her hand.
There you go.
Yeah, so.
And Peter.
My brother will be listening coming up to the last word at 6:30. Appreciate you.
All right, Johnny. Mix in a burrito when you can, Bub.
You got it. Thanks, Gorman. The Gorman right there, the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Last words coming up at 6:30. The last word from me is coming up on the other side. And again, a shout out to Brown County Music Center. I'll be heading down there to check out Howard Jones, Martin Fry, and ABC. And the legendary DJ Richard Blade is going to be there too. Christian Webb and the gang at the Brown County Music Center. My great friend, longtime friend, friend Elise Field's birthday. And if you're going to that show, hopefully I get a chance to see you. That is coming up tonight. I'll close out the show with you coming up on the other side. Don't go anywhere. The last word again coming up at 6:30 tonight. The Stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
And 107.5, The Fan.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Big weekend of sports. You got round 2 with IU and Purdue coming up on Sunday. Again, 1:30 is that tip time. Lots of discussion surrounding that today, and why not? 1:30 tip time. Don Fischer begins the pregame show with you. That's Don and Eric and John Herrick coming up at 1:30, 93 WIBC for that one. But you get round number 2, and this may be more interesting than, honestly, the first time the two teams met back in January. And the reason being is that was close at Mackey, and IU does a couple of things that Purdue has struggled with teams doing to them this season. They bring the athleticism, and they've got big bodies to throw at the Boilermakers. Purdue currently riding a 3-game losing streak. IU trying to, at the very least, be a part of any sort of significant conversation about the NCAA tournament, stacking some wins together here when it really does matter at the end of the year. And let's just face it, this would be a big one. Plus, this is your big rival. We'll see what happens coming up on Sunday. We're going to have complete coverage for you on Monday with a recap. Honestly, this weekend, you get that. You get the Pacers. What a start against the Grizz on Thursday night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I thought you could make an argument that was their best game of the season. And you're going to say, well, wait a minute. They got down 13 early. It was so sluggish early on. How can that be their best? Well, they accomplished that, and then they did what they did against a team that is legit number 2 right now out west, and the West at the top with OKC, with Memphis, with Denver, absolutely loaded. So don't sidestep or minimize the impact that win had. The other aspect of it is, you look at what they accomplished. Tyrese Halliburton, you see now exactly how he needs to play. Miles Turner, all the way around, had a great all-around game. And also with Miles, things didn't start out well. He was 0 of his first four, I should say, from the floor and from three-point range. Got that dialed in. Very active defensively, 7 blocks. And a lot more that he basically scurried out of the lane, and 10 rebounds as well. I thought last night they got from everybody what they needed to get out of everybody. That's how I want to see them play. In fact, I will say that's how I expect them to play. And that wasn't just some really bad team. That was a legit contender out west. And it wasn't a game when John Morant wasn't participating. It may have looked like that in the first half. But in the second half, he got going. In the second half, they made that thing tight. 26-point advantage for the Pacers, and that thing evaporated in the third quarter quickly, but they maintained. They put it back together. It was, to me, beyond impressive. I know I have a lot riding on this because I believe in it. I believe in how they've built it. I believe in the people that have put this together, and I believe in those players. And let's just face it, prior to the All-Star break, we were all kind of having questions. But the one answer you got last night across the board is this is how they can play against the better teams of the NBA if that's what you get. A 50-point second quarter. Are you kidding me? Oh, the threes were falling. Defensively, they were there. That's how I expect to see this team play. I'm not expecting them to have 50-point quarters all the time, but I expect them to play at a very high level, and especially at home. And you saw who kind of started all that. I think really you look at the bench, and the bench got them over the hump early when they were down 13 and needed that help. But then it was Tyrese Halliburton. Then it was Miles Turner. Then it was Pascal Siakam. They had a fantastic effort across the board last night. And by the way, shout out to the fans. That place was loud. I know a lot of people were there to watch Zach Edey, but that place was loud. It was sold out. That's the type of atmosphere that you're looking for. That is the type of game and performance you're looking for from the Pacers, and you got it. Obviously, the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Raptors, the 4-game homestand continues, and we're going to have a recap of the entirety of the weekend for you coming up on this show on Monday. Hey, meantime, tomorrow night, 6 until midnight, the JMV Takeover. You know, I mentioned I'm going to head down to Brown County tonight to see Howard Jones and to see ABC. That's the type of music that you guys will request tomorrow night. A lot of 80s new wave, a lot of 80s in general, some hair band stuff. Probably something from Brett Michaels, who will headline Miller Lite Carb Day coming up at the end of May at IMS. We talked to Brett on the show yesterday. Those are the types of requests we're going to get. That's the JMV Takeover. And again, it's one of one. Nobody else does this anywhere. I don't care if it's nationally syndicated. I don't care if it's nationwide. Nobody opens up the phones and says, you know what? There is no playlist. You guys do, and I will do whatever the damn hell we want to do. And that's what real music radio, by God, is all about. It's always been about that, and it always should have been about that. We've gotten away from it because it's easy and because it's technology, but all requests Saturday night JMV Takeovers, it's not just a tip of the cap to the past of radio greatness. It's how it should be because we leave it up to you and we leave it up to those that are in charge. So that's what Saturday night's all about. That's the JMV Takeover, the all request Saturday night. Tomorrow night, 6 until midnight. It's on B105.7. All right, James, thank you very much for everything you have done. All of our guests today. Remember the last word with the Gorman, Matt Taylor and company coming up at the bottom of the hour. And next week will be at least one day live out at the NFL Combine here downtown as well. So be ready for that. Full reaction to Purdue and IU, to the Pacers this weekend, and whatever else happens will be right there for you coming up on Monday at 3 o'clock. Remember the last word, 6:30 later on tonight. JMV Takeover tomorrow night, 6 until midnight, live in studio on B105.7. Meantime, more conversation that we had and really good stuff earlier this week coming up after 6. Don't go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. And a spectacular conversation we had. And we'll start right here with Bret Michaels, co-headliner, Miller Lite Carb Day. That's coming up at IMS. It is going to be spectacular.
Let's welcome in one of the musical icons of our era or any other era, and just a fantastic dude. Bret Michaels will co-headline Miller Lite Carb Day coming up on Friday the 23rd of May at IMS. He is with us now. Hey, Bret, welcome back to Indy. How are you?
I am doing awesome, my friend, and I just want to say, John, or as I call you, JMV extraordinaire on all things sports. I am doing awesome, and can't wait to get back to Indy, and just this is going to be an absolute party. Let me tell you how excited I am. I cut a hold of Tyson yesterday, All-American Rejects. We are going to make this an absolute party and a celebration of what matters, all of the race fans.
It's Bret Michaels with us. That's on the 23rd of May at IMS. You've been on this show a number of times. I think you're one of the more awesome dudes in entertainment just because you're so conversational. It's like we've known each other for years. But I've always kind of taken about how much you really, truly enjoy being a part of the fabric of Indiana when you're here. You were here last summer as well with, a profound number of artists, which was really cool. But how's it feel to be a part of the history and Carb Day and that experience out at IMS this year?
It's, first of all, for me as a race fan, it's absolutely insanely a thrill. And when I say that, when I was there years ago and we brought Poison, we had set the all-time Carb Day record. From what I understand from authorities, from Doug and Amanda, that record still holds. And we are coming with that same spirit. And to be able to be a part of the fabric of how incredible this race is, and as you know, with my daughters and my family, we have a mini track on our property. Every time I go out to Ruoff to play, last summer we kicked off the entire Party Gras tour there, and I got to tell you, we took everyone out to the racetrack that's right on the grounds. I brought my dirt bike, rode all over the place, met a bunch of fans, and that's the same spirit we're bringing back for the 109th.
I got a great deal of admiration. You have endless amounts of energy, man. Where do you find it? I think, to me, I just think the fans being able to do this and being able to rock places like Carb Day, Miller Lite Carb Day coming up in May, is that where you get the juice? Because you have endless amounts. I'm always impressed.
Well, first of all, thank you. It comes from two things, and the number one, I'm going to be sincere with you. The number one is my gratitude of coming from a small town in Pennsylvania, many years of rehearsing in my garage or water-filled basement. The amount of gratitude I have for the 3 or 4 generations of fans that I get to go out and do what I love to do, which is make music and make friends, hang out, and that's where that energy comes from. And then when I hit that stage, that passion and excitement, it makes everything else, being a lifelong type 1 diabetic, it makes me forget all those issues that have come with it and just go out there and have a great time.
Wait a minute. I'm concerned about your basement. Do we have water in the basement presently?
If anybody,
man.
No. That was me growing up in my house, right? And me and my dad, mom, sisters, we'd be down there trying to fix the sump pump. I'm just leaving you with that. I'm like, Dad, my music gear is starting to float away, and in the wintertime, that's where you went.
Yeah, well, and that's before the battery backup became available too, I think, right, Bret?
Way before that, and we ran on a very humble salary. My father, I'm the proud son of a veteran, and we made do. I always tell people, my kids laugh at me. We made do with gap tape, duct tape, no generator, and whatever we could bucket out of there before the sump pump kicked off altogether.
It's Bret Michaels, co-headliner, along with the All-American Rejects, Miller Lite Carb Day, Friday, May the 23rd, out at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We have Carb Day tickets to give away with our friends from Miller Lite coming up in just a bit. You did reference your father and the military background right there, and I know how much that means to you.
it means the world to me. And I've done this every year. I know me and you've talked about this. I've sent a lot of photos, or they can literally go to brettmichaels.com just to check out the history with this. But at Ruoff or any time we're playing Carb Day, I always invite the veterans out during Something to Believe in or one of our songs. We bring them on stage. The fans honor them. We make it a great celebration of all the freedoms we get. And as a race fan, to have the drivers up there and everyone just hanging out, having a great time. And a big shout out. Big shout out to Doug and for all the awesomeness and great years, especially. I think he's up maybe later in your program, and All-American Rejects with my buddy Tyson and the band. We're going to mash it up. At the end of the night, we're going to go up there and do some songs together, maybe nothing but a good time, and just tell the fans it's going to be an absolute party.
Hey, I think I've asked you this before, and Brett Michaels joins us again, the co-headliner of Miller Lite Carb Day coming up in May. We got tickets for you to give away. But when you guys with Poison first broke, or I guess I should say started to break, did you ever think it was going to be as iconic and as long-lasting as clearly your catalog has become?
Well, first of all, that's a great question, because here's the way I think. I always have to believe. I'm one of those guys that tells people when they ask, I go, bet on yourself. I said, look, we're an independent band on our own label. I had to shrink wrap our albums. I'm not making this up. Our big signing day was me shrink wrapping our independent record. Look what the cat read. So I just want to come from that, literally at a warehouse in El Segundo, California, shrink wrapping, and to be able to have both the incredible solo band and the Poison career, that's the dream. But the amount of hard work that goes into that, and I tell people this, moving parts. And so you always dream it'll be that, but I never go into anything guaranteed knowing it. There's no guarantees, but I work hard at it because my moment of glory is being able to run up there on that stage and just sing and party with the fans.
Yeah, what would it be like trying to make it today in a similar fashion as you tried to make it back then?
So here's the difference. Here's the greatness of today, right? First of all, you being out there keeping it rock and real and relevant. Again, those three words go together, rock and real and relevant. But also with the incredible world of the, let me just say this, the digital technology, the internet, in whatever social platform you choose, it's given bands a lot of opportunity, and some of the big gatekeepers have gone away. So people that may have stopped a lot of talented bands have gone away. You can put your stuff out there, but the one thing that remains, you've got to take your music to the streets. With Poison and my solo band, we only play live music. Not that that's here nor there, but we go out there and we rehearse hard, we work hard, and when we hit that stage, it's that moment of just going, this is awesome. And you can feel that energy, but you still got to go out there and take your music to the streets. You got to work, you got to pay your dues.
How many times have you been in a two-seater out at the Motor Speedway?
Me?
Yeah.
So you're talking about at Indy or in life? Many
at Indy. I'm sorry.
Never,
yeah, Indy. I'm assuming you've been in the two-seater before.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And I've dropped the flag at many. I'm saying I just brought the green down at many, many races, and I'm going through all the formats. I'm talking IndyCar, I'm talking Formula One, I'm talking NASCAR. It's been awesome. And then I get out there and I do you ready? For years, get ready for this, the Richard Petty Race School. Right?
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. Your respect is always high for the drivers, right?
Right.
When you get out there and I went up to one level, then the next level, and finally they put me at the expert level. Let me tell you something. There's some white knuckling going on. I was pretending I was calm, but let me tell you, those G's and throwing it into the corner, it's pretty insane. It was an awesome day. But
yeah.
I love it. It makes my heart pound and brings my blood sugar down a little bit.
Brett Michaels, it is going to be Carb Day. The co-headliner's been on the show before. He is outstanding. And from Bret Michaels, we go to a first-timer on the show, Tyson and Nick. The All-American Rejects from Stillwater, Oklahoma, going to be a part of that Carb Day 2025 lineup. And it's Nick and Tyson with us right now.
Man, I tell you what, I don't know, Tyson and Nick. Tyson, if you're with me here right now, Bret Michaels mentioned you a number of times. Do we got some plans, maybe some collaborative plans to get together on stage on Carb Day?
We got some tricks up our sleeve, I think, as he put it, brother. It's a party up there.
Now, what is it that you know? How much do you know about Carb Day and what it represents, guys?
Honestly, man, I'm pretty uneducated to the value of Carb Day. I do know that the Indy 500 is a pillar of those parts, and we're. We come from go-kart land in the sticks of Oklahoma, so my dad used to drag race. He raised me on, the good old classic Bill Elliott motor circuit, and yeah, man. I mean, for me, I grew up in a garage, so for me, like, this is right up my miles per hour here.
Hey, I will say, fellas, Tyson and Nick joins us for the All-American Rejects right now, part of Carb Day 2025, Miller Lite Carb Day at IMS. I'm assuming that rock music and fast drive, they kind of go together, right? So you guys mesh relatively well right here with what's going to happen at IMS, with racing, and with hard rock and music.
I mean, nothing but a good time, as Mr. Michaels probably would have said. But yeah, no, I think
music and driving in general just go together. I feel a lot of people tell us that they listen to us while they're driving, or makes a good soundtrack for that. So yeah, we're stoked to show up to do both.
Whatever makes you gas burn quicker, man.
Let me tell you something. Here's something else you can add to it. I don't know how many times. This is a sports talk show in Indianapolis. Have you guys been on a sports talk show before?
No.
This is my first. I think if you look at our physiques, you wouldn't really peg us for the athletic type. So yeah, no, this is our way in.
Let me give you a little insight though, and this is something that I've been telling the folks around here for a long time, is music and sports go hand in hand. It's kind of like what we're talking about with music and fast driving, or music and racing. This sports and the sports landscape, fellas, whether you can play it or have ever played it or not, it is an untapped resource where you find so many fans that love music that also love sports. So from here on out, you guys have to be friends of the show and you have to come on. You know what I mean? Because this is kind of an untapped resource for you.
Hey, man, anytime you want to start asking me about statistics, I'll be your guy, man, anytime.
Wait a minute. I need a little bit of help on math here, guys. There's no doubt.
That being said, every time you think about great cars, you always think about the parking lot they're sitting in with the doors open, the windows down, and the ladies circling it. That's this, especially with being able to co-headline this with Bret Michaels. This is like I think we're going to bring back the 80s in a real heavy way, and we're happy to. If you've ever come to a Reject show, we're one of the last guys trying to keep the live show of rock and roll alive in a really fun way, and I think this pairing is going to make those carbs just burn it down on Carb Day.
It's Tyson and Nick of the All-American Rejects with us. It's a part of Miller Lite Carb Day coming up here in May again. The All-American Rejects and Bret Michaels. Are you guys on the road in Tempe, Arizona right now, fellas?
Yeah, we're getting ready to fly to a festival in Arizona, and we're sitting with a big old six-pack of the champagne of beers in our laps right now, just to celebrate.
Well, and for the sake of knowing this, and I know you guys are in the know, Miller Lite Carb Day means we're sitting there with ice cold Miller Lights together right here and right now. I do a show and talk with an ice cold Miller Lite just like you guys are, and preparing for the festival in Tempe, right?
That's right. Brett made sure that he said that we had to sort of get IVs and keep the ABV really high that day. So we're, our livers aren't going to be happy about it, but in the long run, hoping we make it through the day.
I think it's for the best.
It is Tyson and Nick from the All-American Rejects. All right, Stillwater, Oklahoma. Is that where you guys call home?
That is where we were born. Absolutely.
Give me a little background. Is there anything sports related you guys did growing up, or was it all concentrated on the music format?
I played Parks and Recreation baseball until everybody until all the kids started pitching overhand, and that got kind of scary, and that's when about my career ended.
Yeah, and I'm the first Stillwater High School football player ever to be injured on the sidelines, because when we scored a touchdown on homecoming, the kicker headbutted me with his helmet on. Boy, that was a real crowning moment that said, better get a guitar in your hand or you're going to die.
All right. Well, and I just bring this up because Oklahoma is a hotbed for what? For the game of football, as you guys mentioned. And I know Stillwater's the home of Oklahoma State. I just kind of wondered if maybe you got a little football background going on there. But apparently you do on the sideline right there.
That's right. I got a statistic that hopefully won't be beaten.
All right. So Nick and Tyson, you guys wrote "Swing Swing." Is that true? You guys are involved in that, the writing?
I mean, yeah, that's our tune.
Yeah, man, we're one of those bands that actually write all their songs. It's not really so commonplace today. There's usually it usually feels like it's a very sort of commercialized world we live out, but we're the real deal. And so is Mr. Brett Michaels. So yeah, we're going to be Miller Lite Carb Day. Did you say it yet? Did you say it?
I did. I'm saying it a bunch. I'm saying it a bunch. See, we're all very advertising savvy right here, fellas. So yes,
right,
we are saying it.
See how I weave it in? It's seamless. It's seamless.
Hey, I am curious. When you write a hit song like that, was that something that you had done for years that kind of evolved to where you wanted it? I'm talking about Swing Swing. Or was that something that happened quickly for you?
Well, I mean, we've been in bands since, middle school, but I guess the first time I started writing songs to put out a record, that was one of the 10 songs that we wrote. And it was, I think, just another song to us. It was, we were just trying to meet the quota. In order to make a record, you got to write 10 or 12 songs, right?
Yeah.
I think, not to get all hippie with you, because I know it's not really the brand of this probably, but there's something kind of cosmic that happens, I think, when something hits you like that. And I was sitting on a porch swing out at my grandparents' trailer house with Nick, and it was the first time we sort of stowed away with a bunch of, let's just say, Miller Lite in the trunk. And one morning with a little bit of childhood hangover, that song kind of fell in from the sky. And yeah, man, the rest of it was, you can imagine, man, I was 17, Nick was 18.
Those were the beer for breakfast days. I remember that. Yeah.
It was a really wild thing that happened after the radio grabbed a hold of it when we were just this unsigned duo from nowhere, Oklahoma, right?
I think of it from this standpoint, fellas. It's a transformational song for you guys and for the band. And did you think it was going to be that when you were writing it, or was it just kind of another song where you're trying to, as you mentioned, meet your quota?
I mean, for me, it was, we were just so young, and our parents really weren't holding on tight at that point. And there was a summer where all these record companies were just, swing, 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 flying us to the coast, trying to do their song and dance. This was back in the day when they used to overcharge on the tip at Yamashiro and then pull $1,000 and take you to a strip club and try to get you to come over and sign to Columbia Records. We come from this last pillar that has fallen since. Now I don't think that stuff's allowed, but yeah, man, it was a trip, and that song felt like, the magic that did it. So, it's always nice to sort of put yourself in a very removed place from it. We're very grateful that song found us. That's how kind of I feel about it.
And I will say we've always kind of subscribed to the every song we write has to be better than the last one. And Swing Swing was one of the last ones we wrote for that record. So I think we were super stoked on that one. But yeah, then we got validated when, all those experiences Tyson spoke of started happening.
Yeah, and it was like that after it was like that with Dirty Little Secret. It was like that with Move Along. It was like that with Gives You Hell. Like the static fills the room. Your hair kind of goes up to the ceiling, and you kind of take a bunch of shallow breaths, going, "Oh my God, I can't believe we wrote that one in."
It Gives You Hell is one, and again, it's Tyson and Nick joining us, All-American Rejects, part of Miller Lite Carb Day, coming up this May at IMS. It Gives You Hell is an anthem. Did you think at the time you were writing an anthem, as certainly that became?
I think there's a guy that sort of represents you at your label called an artist and repertoire man. He's A&R guy for the shorthand. We brought that down from Canada. We wrote that up in some sort of flurry up in Canada, and we came down and we showed him a batch of songs, and he saw that one, and I don't remember him ever having this face before. Like he kind of straightened his back up and he was hiding a smile, and this is a very curmudgeon Eeyore sort of persona. So to get even the smallest corners of that man's mouth to twist up was, I was so young, man. It was like making Dad proud, It was really cool.
Man, that's Nick and Tyson there from All-American Rejects. Do you guys remember each how it felt the first time you heard, for example, your music on the radio, a song on the radio
I got the
of
good
yours?
Story.
I got the good story, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a good story about that. There was this girl named Angel Palmer, and she was first and last name. That's right. Dr. Palmer was her daddy. He did the teeth in town, we just sort of started getting a little momentum with Swing Swing. We weren't yet broken yet, and I came home, and there was a local college radio station that played Swing Swing, and it was after the party, right? And Angel Palmer was taking me home, and as we pull into her driveway, it came on, and it was the first time I'd heard it, and I looked over at her, and it was like a pudding pack just melted next to me. It was the crazy. I mean, I was jumping for joy, but so were my jeans, and it was a hell of a deal, man. It definitely, needless to say, I got a kiss goodnight.
Let me tell you this, fellas. You just, I think, titled another song. I was excited as hell, and so were my jeans. Is that what you just said? I think that's the title of a song somewhere.
Oh, that's got to be a Bret Michaels lyric. I can't take off the shit for that.
Here's what's great right here. Like, Jeff Stevens just sent me something on X and said, can you tell the guys that they're the best and they helped me get through some tough times in high school? That's Jeff Stevens to you, Tyson and Nick of the All-American Rejects right there.
That's awesome, man. I'd say it blows my mind every time somebody, music is this sort of the only non-denominational sort of religion that we all sort of can congregate in front of, and everybody's in the same space for it, and it's crazy the walks of life that it touches. It's crazy how music hits people, and the gratitude that we have for just it transcending our bedrooms is a pinch me moment every day we walk on stage, man.